Photo finish, freaking thing.
Hey everybody, it's the Hall of Greats.
Oh, great! We are all in attendance except for Mr. Brad Ellis, who's not feeling well. Will not be joining us this evening.
But I'm pinch hitting for him.
Yes.
That's right. So I gotta keep him in there.
Pinch hitting?
Pinch hit.
I'm pinch hitting for him for his entry.
Yes. So there will be 9 entries into the Hall of Greats. We should explain what Hall of Greats is.
Subscriber.
Thank you, Gizmo.
If you don't know what Hall of Greats is, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Let us explain it to you. It's
Gizmo.
This is how we determine which are actually the best video games of all time.
For real.
This list is the list of
I did get some
the greatest video games of all time. And obviously, as a group, we disagree a lot. And so this is the only process we could use to really determine hard and fast what the actual determinate games are. And so what we do is each person brings a game that they believe is one of the greatest games of all time. That person gives a speech, a 5-minute speech for the game, a presentation. We are allowed to use audiovisual cues and whatever. And so then that person has to survive a 5-minute cross-examination from everybody else in the room, playing devil's advocate against what is probably a great game, but they're making a case for why it should not be in the Hall of Greats.
It's our duty.
It's our duty.
Yeah. We don't want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please understand.
Yeah.
We're not trying to attack your favorite game just to be silly. We're,
Except Kyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Can
then
I say real quick?
yeah.
I like the sweater.
Thank you.
You're looking nice.
Thanks. It's my Hall of Greats sweater. Then we have a vote. Each ally gets 3 votes. One worth 1 point, one worth 2 points, one worth 3 points. The 2 games with the highest score at the end of the night will be entered into the Easy Allies Hall of Greats.
Keep it on.
I think that's it, right? Explained pretty well.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Well done.
Well, we determine the order randomly.
Yes.
We'll add... Well, we don't want to explain the vote system yet.
Right.
I feel the best kind of nervous right now.
Me
It
too.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen very
Oh, I gotta
often,
get the chips
but
down.
Oh, yeah, we need...
Oh yeah, little warehouse.
I
Yeah,
played Friday the
for the
13th
end.
the other day with a gizmo. I wonder if that's the same gizmo.
from
Surely, there's only one Gizmo.
Gremlins?
Flawbot.
Flawbot.
Thanks, Flawbot.
But I was-
Just a joke.
Oh.
Just a bad
Oh,
joke.
you can't... Explain that.
Huh.
We cannot this time...
Oh yeah, we have 2 new rules voted on by our patrons of patreon.com/easyallies. Firstly, Damiani will count the votes.
I like it.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
That's what they want.
Save
I
his
like
hands. Save his hands.
Yeah.
They want
Save
it.
his hands.
I trust it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so Damiani will reveal to us, the group,
So many subs.
from descending
Yeah.
order.
Mr. Socks.
shout him out.
Tata.
Yeah,
Token gamer.
cool. So Damiani from descending
Groups.
order, and then once it's
Crap.
top 3, you will reveal the game that didn't get in.
Ooh.
Instead of revealing like
So
3,
the
2,
number
1.
one, the runner-up, the number one
The
runner-up.
runner-up is the one he reveals.
Okay.
And then we're good. We know.
Just one runner-up.
Yeah.
I like it when we go through all of them.
Well, I mean, like once you've knocked off the runner-up, we know which 2 are in the Hall of Greats.
More subs.
Oh, yeah.
I
yeah.
I can't read it from me.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you get to the top
Mirandone, 2 months. Blame
so
Mike, 1
when
month.
you get to the top 3, you don't want me to like dramatically be like, so the 2 that are getting in with like the highest votes, this, second highest, this.
Yeah, ascending order.
No, you gotta go for the kill, Damiani.
So
Instant devastation.
As Regis
Instant
says.
devastation.
and
Same
it's
thing?
more tension when it comes down to the last 2. It's like
Yeah,
just pull
you
the
gotta
third
start
one
with the
out,
one that
then
has
you
the
know what
least
won.
votes.
If you say the third place one, you know which 2 won. It's over. That's
America's
there's no tension.
funniest
Yeah,
home
so if you
video
go-
was
if
messed
you-
There's no one winner. There's 2 winners.
Yeah, but you say if you know the total votes, you go coming in with the most votes is this, which means there's only 1 spot left. It's kind of like the bubble selection of ESPN. It's like
I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
like it. I
There
like
you go.
Damiani. Okay,
Like,
this
who's
is
the
why
last
they
one
this is
in?
why they voted for Damiani.
Yeah.
But we still get to hear all the numbers of
subs.
votes
Yes.
from the
Okay.
lowest to
Yes.
highest,
Yeah,
right?
so,
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll
cool.
start from 10 through 4. I'll go coming in or
Yeah.
9th place.
Right, okay.
This with
Right.
3
Good.
votes. and
That's
8th
all I care.
Yeah.
Yo, I missed that one. Who was it? It was a green something.
There's 2 for
Green
Echo
Bandit.
Jack, Blame Mike.
Coming in.
Dante
Number
was
9. Cowboy Bebop.
When we begin, we're not going to be looking at chat
Yeah,
as much,
that's
so
true.
we're going to miss them.
We're gonna miss
And,
a lot of subs.
but we
Sorry,
love-
but we love them.
There are no
Invasion
sub
808.
notifications
Okay.
Dante
whatsoever
86 DMC.
Damiani has turned off sub notifications.
Why?
on the stream.
Just
You
trying to
see
keep it profesh.
They got to see when they sub.
Damiani
We've
doesn't
never
like it.
ever had them on during this.
This is why
We
they
can
vote.
change
Don't sub during this. You will receive no benefits.
You get the
Shut up.
emotes.
You'll get the
You'll
emotes.
get the emotes.
We're not going to shout them out while we're pitching a game.
it. Okay.
The second new rule, probably the most important, the one Don is happiest about, we will no longer be able to vote for our own games.
Very nice.
This is important.
Oh, Don's a fan.
This is important because if your game does not get any votes,
Here come the votes.
it is excluded for a year.
For a year.
Your game will not be seen again for a year. That game.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I should not say your game because you can swap games. Other people can present the same game.
True. All right.
I think that's it. Let's see who's first.
Hey, you guys voted on that rule.
Number
If you don't
one.
like it, take it up with yourselves.
The first, right? Every rule added is a good rule and a bad rule at the same time.
Yeah.
But we know what we're doing. It's time to kick it off. Ladies and gentlemen, the first presenter for this month's Hall of Greats will be Mr. Kyle Bosman.
Whoa!
All right.
Get in the
Like
center,
cannon.
Kyle.
Okay.
It's like boo.
It's like beer.
What is that?
Streets of Rage.
Oh.
Remember that? There's a sign in the back of the
Oh,
Halloween
yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah.
haunted house.
It's like
Boo.
what was the baseball one?
Oh, let me time you.
Enjoy baseball.
Oh, we do need to time it. 5 minutes hard.
Good luck, Kyle.
Thanks, Huber. I'm so unprepared today.
It's fine.
we all are.
I
except
just
for John.
speech written
So-
for Pokemon.
So
What's
we're
up?
seeing this. How's it gonna look? It's gonna look like the video in the corner, the Hall of Greats, and your reactions cam in the bottom right.
Do
Cool.
baseball.
The sweater
Is
back.
audio still go? You want audio during?
You got the V-neck in the back.
Yeah,
That is a backwards
That's a backwards
sweater.
But it's a big sweater though, so you can go in.
Show,
You don't
I
even
noticed
know.
at the
You can go
beginning
in.
of the stream and
I
decided
just-
I wasn't gonna sing.
It's a new style.
I just don't want you to do this. I want you really to own these 5 minutes. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Thanks.
See, there you go.
Double
Look at that.
V.
Oh, look at that V in front.
You know what? It kind of ruins
Our
it.
audio to be heard, or just want the video to be heard.
Oh, our audio. Sorry. Don't go full up on that audio.
Okay.
You can have it playing lightly.
So good.
So there's audio in the video.
So you're
I was like,
talking.
I'll ask him after the
There is
stream.
audio in the video, yeah.
Oh.
See, now if it doesn't get in, he's gonna blame me.
All right, I am all ready. Kyle.
His lucky backwards sweater.
I'll switch over to the video when you give me a thumbs up.
Okay, I'm going to start talking a little bit and then tell you about the video.
Sure,
Okay.
go ahead.
We have done 4 induction ceremonies of the Easy Allies Hall of Greats. I think about that first one. I think about what I brought to that first Hall of Greats induction. And I can't understand why it failed. And so I tried to think. I tried to think like all of you might be thinking. And maybe you just don't realize what Mega Man Legends looks like. And so I want to show it to you all. Damiani, please. I just want to show you what this game looks like. Because I'm not sure you realize how great this is. From the year 1996. Gotta keep setting this up. Please keep that in mind. This game, before Ocarina of Time, a year before it. You know, this is, Damiani, we hear it but can't see it.
We can't see it.
I need my fellow allies to be able to see this in order for my argument to
You
work.
don't see it?
No,
We don't
dude.
see it.
Right.
The chat cam is
TV's
off.
off.
TV is off.
That would probably be. No. This
No,
counts
that's the
against
only
the
thing
time.
This counts against time. Quick, Damiani.
Showing up.
You're killing me, dude. You're killing me,
Damiani,
dude.
bury it.
There it is. It was there for a second and then TV turned
There
off.
it is.
What's happening?
It's going.
What's happening?
There it is.
Okay, there it is.
Oh,
TV, stop
This
this.
is this blinking thing that happened
All
to me.
right, don't blink. No one blink.
no.
Or blink when it blinks.
Okay, it's
Okay.
good.
Yeah. Got it.
All right. Okay, fellow allies. This is what Mega Man Legends looks like. Look at the beauty of this game. Look at how I'm able to kick the soda machine and then it explodes. Look at the freedom we're allowed in this game. Look at the textures. Everything is consistent. It's all blinking away. Over here we have a TV station.
Don't panic.
It's pretty cool in 1996 to just have a 3D exploration game in which there's a TV station. For the whole 5 minutes of this presentation, I only went around this one environment just to show you what one environment of this game would have in terms of variety. Maybe just turn the TV off and on again?
I tried a billion. things.
Okay,
I don't,
okay.
I don't know if it's an issue. My
I think
cable,
it's
don't know
exploit.
See, look, we have a living city. Watch this part, please. There! I hopped onto a truck! And now we're riding around on that truck.
That's awesome.
How cool is this? In 1996, we're doing this on Mega Man Legends. And so everything I said about the game still holds true originally, just that it's fun to care about the NPCs in this game. It's an adventure on an island that builds and you help contribute to its building. Great characters. She's working at a computer game school. I think there are a lot of people who would really like this. And I want you all to just observe it. Look at what can happen in this game. You can get hit by the truck. Look at the character model. Look at this world. I don't know. To me, this is just stark beauty. I can't imagine why it isn't in the Hall of Greats yet. And I'm happy for another opportunity for to get in this week.
They said Resident Evil, so you have my point.
Yeah, she's making Resident Evil. Don't take it away, Damiani.
He's testing it.
Fix this, dude.
Okay, all right.
Just do the other TV.
Oh, because it doesn't blink if it's not on
Yeah,
there?
it doesn't
Oh,
blink if
I
it's
got it.
Notice, yeah, notice that.
Okay,
It's
I
the
got
moment he puts XSplit with a video playing
Yep.
on that television.
Do I have time left?
Yes, you have a minute and a half.
Okay, great. Okay, so, and here you would be seeing the characters go into an interior location.
I'm gonna go look.
Yeah, it's cool. All the characters just have
mirror.
they have faces that look good. They have faces that have expression on them, even more so than you still kind of see today. Because it's just textures on polygons, but it just looks so wonderful. The voice acting is good.
It's good so far.
Yeah. Yes. So I mean, just like, check out this environment right here. I think like this is better than what you see in most games today, in a way, in its detail, in its consistency, in the fact that those paintings don't appear anywhere else in this entire world. You know, it's not just repeated assets. This is just a museum that they decided to add. Well, actually, this contributes to a really cool item that you can get if you fill in all the items of this museum, as I have. I mean, just look how cool this stuff is. You can just find this stuff in the dungeons, and then you bring it to the museum, you can check it out. And there are NPCs who care about it. And so you walk into this museum originally, and they don't have cool stuff to show off, but then you contribute to the museum, and it becomes better. So yeah, there's just so many excellent elements to this game. Yeah, you have little skater shoes. And it's just fun to skate around. Even if the game was just this. This is why I wanted to show this so much. If the game was just this, it would be one of the greats. I mean, look at this. We're gonna come up here, look at the ocean. Okay, I'm gonna look down. Look at the dock right there. Look at this. That's run and operated by Dr. Wily's ancestor.
There you go.
Thank you. Damiani, thanks for making that work.
Minute?
No, that's good.
You sure?
Yeah.
It feels bad.
I would rather you watch the whole thing again, but no, that's good.
Right.
We got to see. Yeah, I made my case.
Alright, cool.
We could run it during
the
the
monitor
cross
just
exam.
vanished from display for whatever reason, randomly.
It's weird, yeah.
I couldn't it was ready to go
Projector
to show you
works,
it, and
though.
you said you weren't seeing it. I was like, what?
Oh, weird.
So sorry.
Projector works though.
This is good. Yeah.
I made a clone of a preview window so you could see it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
And it doesn't blink.
5 minutes of rebuttals, correct?
Yes.
All right, your 5 minutes begins right now.
It's when someone starts asking a question.
I will ask a question.
Okay.
There are no Mega Mans currently in the Hall of Greats.
Yes.
Doesn't it feel a bit weird to get Legends in before 1 or 2?
No, Jones.
Before like the classics?
What 1 or 2?
I haven't
looks
played
like
any of
this?
these, so I'm just
I
talking.
just showed you a video. What of them looks like that?
He doesn't have he doesn't have the helmet on though. He doesn't have the big.
You
wavy
can't put the
hair.
helmet on. I
Oh,
wanted,
you can
I
on
wanted
this
to
one?
show you the wavy
Oh,
hair.
okay.
You can't put the helmet on. And you can shoot things. But yeah, I just wanted to show the beauty of a town, which the old Mega Man games don't have.
It feels like the character is it's strange. It kept vacillating for me between feeling like he was too big for the world and too small for the world. When he was by a building, he seemed too small.
Mm.
And then by the truck, he felt somehow too big and then too small, depending on where you were standing.
I think
The scale of things seems weird.
I
in
think
this
it was
game.
intentional. I think because he's a teen, when you are a teenager, you're in that in between where things feel too big and things feel too small. And so I think they're trying to say that about what's happening in Mega Man's life at the time.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
Um,
To me, it's pretty clear.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Now that you say that, that's there. What's this game like other than how it looks nice?
It's an adventure game. It is a lot like a Zelda game in which there are dungeons that you can go in. What's cool about these dungeons is that they're all connected. Not all of them, but a lot of them are connected. You go back in and you go deeper and deeper, and then you take things you find. There's actually really cool boss fights, antagonists that are kind of like interesting and funny, but also a weird, dark, like deeper plot that you get into at the very, very end.
Whoa.
That the game is always truly about. Like you can go into a library early on, you can like open a book and like learn about like the island is doomed, and you're like, oh, and you just put it back on the shelf, and it's like, okay. But it's like that's what the whole story is. It's cool.
I like that. What's the total runtime of this?
12 to 13 hours. My save file was 13 hours when I loaded this.
Kyle, anytime you talk about this game, you express this deep love of it, that you just love surrounding yourself in it.
Yeah.
But I think with any game, there's kind of that moment where it clicks from you, where it's like, I'm not just playing this game, I love this game.
Yeah.
When did that switch flip for you? What was the moment in Mega Man Legends specifically where you kind of had that deep admiration come?
There's the Apple Market is the connection between the city. You can't go into the city without going through this marketplace, and it's like the strip of mall, and it's so dense. You can go into the stores, and each of them is a different store, and they all have great art on the inside. It was the mall, Ben. It was just really, really super early, and I love the music in the mall too. Apple Market.
You've talked a lot about kind of overworld and town stuff. What is combat dungeons like at all?
Shooting. Basically, you have your buster, and you can add modifiers onto your buster, so you can make it shoot faster, or shoot longer, or do more damage.
So
And
you're
then it's always
actively
about
shooting
those
in
balance.
3D?
Yeah.
And that
You can strafe,
works okay?
right?
You can strafe, yes. Not quite how you're thinking, but you can.
Oh, okay.
And then you just press shoot to shoot, bud.
Is there a skill tree or anything? Is there
No
like an upgrade
skill tree.
path?
The upgrades are basically your equipment, like those rocket skates I had.
You
That was
find new
equipment.
ones?
Yeah.
So it's like
And like new
Metroidvania
weapons
kinda.
are all equipment that roll like produces for you if you get all the ingredients.
Dungeon variety. You said it's all one dungeon. Does it all look samey?
The dungeons look pretty samey to an untrained eye.
Oh.
Are the dungeons fun?
Yeah,
You
they
have fun
are.
doing them?
Yeah, because I kind of like the vibes. It actually feels like dark and scary the deeper you go. I really like the dungeons in this game.
Are there any puzzles?
Not really. It's like unlock this door to unlock that one.
Sorry if you answered this. Platforming. I'm curious about how does it convert?
Minimal platforming.
So it doesn't really capture the essence of the 2D Mega Man, to the tension of running gun plus platforming.
No,
So it's
no,
not
no.
that style at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does it bring from the old ones that it does well?
Good cue.
I love blasting, Don. I love having a blaster attached to my arm, and I love shooting. I guess your left arm, your special arm, kind of adapts the idea of Mega Man switching weapons and having like an arsenal of different weapons that he can have.
But do you actually like get
Do you get
weapons
power
from
the
Robot
bosses?
Masters? Yeah.
Are there bosses?
No.
There are bosses.
Yeah,
You
you said
don't-
they were funny.
Yeah, they're not robot masters.
Whoa.
They're pirates.
Pirates.
Yeah.
Mega Man's going around shooting human pirates?
They're not humans. He's like a cyborg. He's like an
Well,
android.
you said they're not robots.
Oh, no. Not like robot masters. I said they're not robot masters.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Very nice, very
Well
nice,
done.
very nice.
All right. The next person up is Daniel Bloodworth.
Okay.
Daniel Bloodworth.
All right. Yeah, I get to get it out of the way.
Yeah. Wilborn.
Get through the terror. Everyone ready?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Blood, am I?
I don't know.
wondering.
I don't know. I got a couple of notes here, but hopefully I can just do this without
Fire away.
referencing too much. So this won't be the first time this game has been brought, but the first time I brought it, and it's been since I think the first Hall of Greats that we have talked about Dark Souls.
Ooh.
And I think it's time for Dark Souls to get in the Hall of Greats. And I picked Dark Souls out of the whole group because I do think that it is the most significant. It hits that like apex of they're figuring things out in Demon Souls, and they like landed it with Dark Souls, and particularly in the world design. I think that is like one of the strongest achievements, is kind of taking the Metroid style connectivity of all the different areas, but without that, but differently. Like rather than you getting an ability or something that lets you get to the area, you just find a way that unexpectedly leads you back to somewhere that you've already been, whether it's a locked door or an elevator or whatever. I really love that it was thought about in many different ways, in that, you know, once you get further into the game, that you can like look back and see areas that you've already been, or that when you first saw them you just thought that was some background thing, but now you're like, I actually know where that is. I know how this leads to that, and you can just kind of trace your way through the world, which I appreciate very much. I also appreciate the fact that it gives you different avenues to move forward. And for like my playthrough of Dark Souls, rather than going across the bridge where the dragon was, I went down and like beat my head against Hovel the Rock until I got him, and then I worked my way backwards through the forest and all of that, and then came up behind the dragon, which thankfully has been patched, but at that time the dragon just automatically died and I got a bunch of souls without doing anything. But it's kind of funny that it, in many ways, some of the rough edges of Dark Souls kind of shows the ambition of that game. I also really think that it's done a lot for combat in games overall. The very many ways that you can approach and choose to play Dark Souls, so that you can literally go through that game 3 or 4 different times with different experiences, just because a sword feels different from a mace, feels different from pyromancy, feels different from more normal magic. So there's a lot there to all of that. It really revels in things that you don't expect, things that surprise you, whether they be some kind of trap, whether they be enemies, like in the forest you have the little bush guys that come out of the ground. We've seen plenty of mimics, but Dark Souls mimics are among the best. And then the fact that NPCs are dangerous, just guys that you expect to just tell you whatever and sell you some things, can somehow backstab you. You think it's okay, you think you're doing a good thing letting somebody out of a cage, and that's not always the case. Or you think it's a good thing to like say, hey, I found this thing down in the depths, and nope, that guy's just gonna run off and get himself killed and then attack you later as Hollow. There's just so many different things there. Also with the combat, the significance of every encounter really comes out. There's so many games where you just chew through normal enemies like they really don't matter, and in Dark Souls you have to think about each enemy encounter as you move forward, and there are just a lot of random guys where if you let your guard down, they'll kill you, and you're like, I've killed 20 of these guys, but no, this one got me because I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. And then similarly, the boss fights that are so memorable because they just put you to the test, really get your heart pumping, and then when you finally defeat them, it really it feels like you did something very significant. And so I think all of those things put together have influenced many games since then, and Dark Souls belongs among the greats.
4 seconds left.
I could see it out of the corner of my eye, so.
Okay. And 5 minutes of rebuttal starts right now.
The frame rate is terrible.
Yeah.
The textures are ugly. The rolling is too slow. You can only have one sword. The PC port was terrible.
Blight Town.
Why is there no easy mode?
Why is
You shut your
out of those many things, the one thing, the slow rolling, I think, is actually very interesting because that is part of the game's trade-off of combat. It's very cool that you can choose to go with the slow character and figure out how to tank your way through that, or you can go very nimble and try to avoid every attack that comes at you. So I think it's actually a positive thing.
Correct answer. The frame rate is terrible.
The frame rate is terrible. It's definitely there, but I think that you could say the same about games that are already in the Hall of Greats. That is not necessarily keep it from being great.
Name names.
Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Also a terrible frame rate. If you go back to the 64 game now. it's definitely a distraction at points. But I think again, like it's terrible because they made areas that were a bit too large and too ambitious. They wanted to put that ahead of the performance.
What is Dark Souls about?
What is Dark Souls about? Dark Souls is about discovering what Dark Souls is about. It's pretty cool in that way. Yeah, there are so many different ways of interpreting what you're going through and what you're going to do, and how all those pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Did you beat it?
Oh yeah.
The one area that really breaks my heart when it comes to Dark Souls, and the developers have even come out and said like, "Hey, this wasn't as good as we want it to be," is Lost Izalith.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how interconnected Dark Souls is and how intricate it is, and Lost Izalith is just kind of a blob of terrible design where it's like not fun getting through, it's not interesting, it's not complex, it's just really tedious. What do you think about that area, and does something that the developers admitted is bad a knock against Dark Souls?
I think it's not as good as the rest, but I still think it. Yeah, I think there's interesting things there. I think that there is still a bit of what they wanted to communicate that comes through there.
What specifically?
What specifically? I mean, just the idea of kind of similar to like the Depths of Norfair and Super Metroid. Like you have this lost city that it's engulfed in flames, and kind of the lore and everything that goes behind that with the birth of pyromancy. Yeah, so I think that like even though like structurally and design wise it may not be as fun, there's still, you know, some tough enemies to get through there. Their arrangement isn't the best, but there's a lot to still appreciate about that, and kind of again like it evoking more than it actually presents.
Springboarding off of that, speak to the Bed of Chaos, because a lot of people think that that's a really bad boss fight.
Oh, that's a hard one because I feel like everyone had trouble with that, but for whatever reason I didn't, and I don't remember. Okay. It's been so long now.
Okay.
I don't know. I had super hard times with dumb things.
Exactly.
And then that one, you know.
That's the beauty of Souls is like I stomped Ornstein and Smo like first try, and then like some other really easy bosses.
Really? You did?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
And then, but then some other easy bosses I died like 10 times, and it's
Right.
like it's all about matchups.
You're not supposed to get through Havel at the beginning? What? I love it.
Usual one.
The usual one.
The usual question always gets asked of the original, one of the earliest in the series. Has it been eclipsed by any of the newer entries, and why would you pick this one over newer entries, say like Bloodborne?
It's hard
or
to go
Dark
back,
Souls 3?
Blood.
There are definitely refinements. I mean, I think in some ways I did, you know, enjoy Dark Souls 3 in some ways more, but I again, all of that stuff that Dark Souls has and works for, it still works. And so it really, it lays this foundation. It lays this perspective for what this series is all about. And I don't know that you can really appreciate the other games as much without having that like Dark Souls foundation.
Why don't the
there.
lips move?
Why don't the lips move?
There we go.
Because they don't.
Correct answer! Right answer! Right answer!
Well, next presentation is Brandon Jones.
Yeah, juicy. You want me to time you, Brandon?
I'll hit it.
Okay.
Everybody ready for this? I only see one nominee up there. I don't know if you want to.
That's
Oh,
that's
it's not updated, Matt. Got it.
On their end, it's up.
Then I ain't gonna worry about it. All right, everybody.
Good luck, Jones.
So thank you, Michael Huber. So we talk about a lot of games. I'm bringing a deep cut, y'all. I'm bringing one I feel... Obviously, I have a history with this video game. Obviously, no one in this room does not know this video game. I'm actually curious to see if anybody in this room has never played this video game in any form. But we do this Hall of Greats thing. We honor what we consider to be the best in the industry. And I feel obligated to mention this game. And cue the groan in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to talk about Pong! Invented in 1972, second oldest video game franchise in the history of the industry. So watch the lack of interest slowly build up in this room for the second oldest video game franchise in the history of the industry. Watch how all of the discussions of relevance, how Dark Souls brought mechanics to other games in the franchise, will summarily be deleted once people go to vote for Pong, because Pong, not Pong anymore. Ignoring that, the simple principle of, I have a thing, I'm throwing that thing to you, you can't let that thing get past you, you have to block it and send it back. Trajectory is a big deal. Placement is a big deal. Knowing about the person that you're playing against. We're talking about a game that invented arcades, one of the first home console games that anyone ever created. A game that, yes, we're not playing Pong later, but we will be playing Mario Aces on the Switch this year, and it's essentially the same fundamental format of the game. This is basically tennis done before somebody called a video game tennis, only surpassing Tennis for Two, which I think was built in the 60s. This is a tremendous game, and it feels weird to me to have a Hall of Greats, to have a Hall of Fame. It's like if you were having a baseball Hall of Fame, and you're like, what about that guy from the first baseball player ever? And you're like, you know, Barry Bonds hit more home runs than that guy. Screw that guy. I just think if it doesn't make it in, that's fine. But I feel I need to bring it up because you look back on this industry, you look back on the progenitors, you look back on the things that inspired other people, not only to make other games, but to see what was possible with games, to see what was possible in the industry, to go to a bar and not play pool, not play darts, play a video game, sit down on a monitor and actually like play a game with your friends while you're drinking, while you're in a public place. And to think of the series that brought that, and obviously, yeah, it's not something, there's no big hot Switch release of Pong coming out this year. This isn't something that a lot of people are downloading on Steam. But I think when we talk about Hall of Greats, when we talk about video games in general, I mean, you look at PUBG and you look at what that brought this year and you think about, well, here's this game that not only brought this cool format, obviously we've had third-person shooters before, obviously we'd have open-world shooters before, obviously this is a format people have dabbled with, but it's never really hit this sweet spot that is clearly going to inspire so many of these bigger companies to take this and to move forward. I feel it's only right to go back to the source. The only older franchise which beats this by 1 year was the Oregon Trail. It's the only older franchise, and I think this date Pong holds a little more relevancy than the Oregon Trail. It is the only games I think anybody has submitted for Hall of Greats that I believe everyone has played. Has anyone in this room not played Pong in their life ever? So I think that might be a record. The first game brought to Hall of Greats that absolutely everyone's probably played Ocarina of Time, but still. I just think it's a tremendously relevant game. I think the thing that it lacks, which is unfortunate, is sexiness. You know, literally just bringing it up in this Hall of Greats elicits laughter because it's like, oh yeah, no, we don't. Anything in the 70s, we're just not even going to consider that. I think it's a game that is still fun to this game. It's still challenging to this game. I bet Damiani would probably beat everybody in this room with Pong, even though he's like never played it in decades. It does require skill. There's no levels, there's no story, there's no characters, there's no achievements. But it's really nice sometimes to just look back, as I like to do with retros and other period pieces, where you look back at the relevance of the industry. And I grew up, I was born in 1979, I grew up with a lot of great games from the 80s. It feels like video games started in the 80s, but they started a super long time ago, just as far as technology is concerned. And when you see this game that was being played in arcades, it was being played, you know, in bars around the world, and was one of the first games that people had the ability to take home and play on their self on a television. That seems pretty relevant. That seems pretty inspirational. That seems to have encouraged other people to follow the same pursuit, make you do something in a game, put a score on it. And it's versus, which I think is fantastic. You know, this isn't just a game you're playing by yourself. This is a game you're either playing against the computer or against another human being. You can get good at it. You can be bad at it. And it ain't going anywhere. It's always going to be around. So thank you, Pong, for your wonderful contribution to the video game industry. Damn.
Ready for a bubble timer? Has anyone in this room not played Symphony of the Night?
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Really?
He hasn't read Harry Potter.
Has anyone not played Mario 64?
So that's our one.
How about Metal Gear Solid? How about Street Fighter 2?
Alright.
This is
I'm just saying.
So, Jones, I want to run a theory by you.
That's good. That's good.
I want your genuine response to this. I want to run a
Yes.
theory about you. I almost feel that Pong. I feel like we could erase it from history and we still have video games today. I remembered a part of my speech that I wanted to deliver about this idea of a time when people are just making video games through their own creativity, just like, oh, I want to make this thing. And to me, the idea of like, hey, we should make Mario Brothers because I got an idea looking at Pong, I don't believe it. I believe that video games came about of like, wouldn't it be fun to play something on your television screen? So do you truly believe that Pong is the thing that inspired people, creative people, to make their own video games after it?
I do. I strongly believe that. I believe Pong was the first. If you were 6 years old in 1972 when you first played Pong in an arcade, you can't tell me that you like went home and were like, whatever. You're just like, whoa, did somebody do that for a job? Is that something you can actually do? Who created that? What company created that? Where can I play that? I played that at my friend's house, and now I want to have that at home to play it. So it's not in a sense where like the gameplay mechanics did it, or people were like, that's the only way to make a video game. But just the fact of how early it was. The fact you look back at 1972, that's so long ago, and it's not like I would put Pong on the television now and we would all be like, what? I don't know what's going on. This is some weird early PC game with a horrible frame rate and weird controls, and I don't know how to manage the inventory. Anybody can pick that game up in 2 seconds. It's got to be one of the easiest games to learn in the history of the industry.
It's technologically very rock solid and inspiring, I think, too. The controls are really perfect.
I'm sure it was glitchy back in the day.
If the foundation of Pong, if we're going to this level of classic, if the foundation of Pong is so strong, Jones, why hasn't it ever been, or has it been remade in any way, like in the way Pac-Man, for instance, is able to be, the foundation is able to continually be remade and somehow work?
Because it doesn't have a character associated with it. Pac-Man came back as Pac-Man's a person. Like, you could give Pac-Man a voice, like you could make an animated series around Pac-Man, whereas like they didn't. You got 2 bars and a pixel you're knocking back and forth. So I think it did. Like, I think we like I mentioned, like tennis obviously owes a lot to the mechanics and the physicality of it, and knowing that you don't have to create a 3D environment to make a 3D sports game. You can look at it at an angle, you can look at it top down, you can look at just the side if it's like coming at you or going away. So I think I think we are playing games, like I said, that have that principle of back to you, back to me, back to you.
I mean, Chuck, it's called Pong because of ping pong, man.
Right.
It's not like they invented the game.
Right. But they're the first to ever do it in the history of the planet. So that we just write that off. We just nice try. Erase.
Jones,
you should have waited 10 years. Like
Jones,
you should have released on the NES. That's the only I didn't play in the arcade.
What if I don't like people? Can I enjoy this game by myself?
You can.
That's
Yes.
a good question.
You can play it against AI. You can also.
But is that rewarding and fun playing against the AI?
Sure. It's kind of like playing the GoldenEye single player gets you ready for multiplayer. It's like you can enjoy that on its own, or you can do that to get used to the controls, get used to what weapon comes before what weapon, how to switch to grenades fast, yada yada. So yeah, there are definitely single player versions of Pong that are very satisfying. Arkanoid and all of its variants definitely owe a ton to Pong, and that is a single player version of that game where you are going against a structure and not necessarily one side of the screen.
Is that the one where you bounce the ball up?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Breakout.
Yeah, Arkanoid was the arcade
Love
version.
it. It's super
And, yeah.
We should put that in the hall.
Yeah.
Love that game.
If it's out, bring back Arkanoid 3 months. That'll do it.
Sounds like it's in.
You have something to say, Damiani?
Oh, I was about to jump in and help defend Jones. I was like, whoop, you can't. You're not supposed to defend the game.
You can defend.
You can defend.
No, it's
We can
fair
ignore
at
you.
this point. I don't want to break the spirit of this point.
Jones, I want to push back on one thing you said.
Bring it.
The idea that Mario Tennis Aces would not exist without Pong is like, man, that's a tennis game. Like,
Right.
tennis existed before Pong did, and there would be a tennis game eventually if there
It
was
did.
no Pong.
Well, it's like saying slapstick would still be the exact same thing it is. That if you were to do slapstick in Hollywood, whether Charlie Chaplin was alive or dead wouldn't matter. It'd be the same. We'd go
I
in the
think the
same
difference is
reality.
'cause Charlie
You could
Chaplin's
remove
stuff holds
Charlie
up.
Chaplin. You could remove Charlie Chaplin from the world.
You can't. His
Go
stuff
into
is
that
good,
dimension,
though.
and nothing would be different.
His stuff is good.
So you could take
if you
Pong
like
out.
take out like Bartleby Dukelman, and it's like I
So
don't
in
like Bartleby Dukelman.
so in
His stuff sucks.
1972
His later work was good.
So 1972.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
I disagree.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion?
Time.
Very nice, very nice.
Please stay away from like hypothetical stuff. Like remove it from history. Like you can't argue that. Like there's like,
Kyle
you
will
can't-
try.
You can't argue imaginary alternate history. Like that's
Hey man, if that's what you
Kyle
want to
said
waste
if it was in the
time with-
70s, it's a race.
In your speech, you said Mario Tennis Aces.
The time is up.
Oh, the
Time is up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Respect the process.
The next pitch will be from Mr. Michael Damiani.
Yes.
Yes.
All alternate history.
No alternate history.
Do you need to press play on something?
So all I have to do, Kyle, here is just when I say the game title, you just hit time, so it shows up.
Out of nowhere.
I don't know. Didn't see that one.
There are no towers in Pong. What?
Long height. Respect, Jones.
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna come out of these mouths.
never know.
You never know.
I like Pong's. What was it? Arachnoid?
Arkanoid.
Arkanoid.
I
Arkanoid.
love
Love
those
that,
games.
yeah. Oh, man.
Oh,
So addictive.
Holding for dramatic effect. He holds it. Holds it.
Hey, Hubert,
Huh.
can we scooch the back 4 seats over a little bit?
Yeah, which way?
Shot right now.
Oh, this way.
This way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They've been like sliding over.
Before Don's like cut off the shot.
Yeah.
Plenty of space.
Plenty of room.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
What's going
Dun, 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 dun,
Hey, we doing anything cool on Sunday?
dun, dun,
This
dun,
Sunday,
dun.
we are gonna go bowling. Now, this Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific time at Tommy's Place at USC here in Southern California, near Los Angeles. We are doing Easy Allies in concert. It'll be a live show. You can buy tickets and attend in person if you would like. More info at patreon.com/easyallies, or you can just hang out here, twitch.tv. You could go nowhere right now. Just don't change anything, don't touch anything. Stay in your chair until Sunday at 8 p.m. So you will see on this same channel a live show. Well, I like that one. It's celebrating our second anniversary.
You can just go to Eventbrite and search for tickets too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Search Easy Allies on Eventbrite.
We should stream us
Yeah,
bowling.
those
That'd
tickets.
be very
All right,
fun.
going on you, baby.
All right. Prep this real quick that I am reading from a script. I already did the work by writing this earlier, so I feel this should be okay.
Should we be timing this?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Over a decade ago, Team Ico, helmed by Fumito Ueda, delivered a landmark release on the PlayStation 2. Shadow of the Colossus captivated audiences with its iconic visuals, spellbinding battles, and an absolutely phenomenal soundtrack. Routinely cited as one of the best PlayStation 2 games of all time, and heralded as an important testament to viewing video games as art, the legacy of Shadow of the Colossus commands respect. So, the concept of revisiting the game in any fashion is risky to say the least. Sure, it received an HD touch-up a few years back on the PS3, but the notion of completely remaking the game visually from the ground up invites healthy skepticism. Does Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4 really need a visual update other than a higher fidelity port? Could a poor effort tarnish how it's viewed by new players? We're sure there'll be purists out there who take issue. Stop, Kyle. You're ruining it. Okay. I'm sure there will be purists out there who take issue with some of the minor liberties this remake employs in the name of modernization, but this new Shadow of the Colossus leaves me speechless. Blue Point Games, known for some of the best HD ports to date, really outdid themselves this time. Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4 is a masterwork in how to craft a tasteful remake that gives us a chance to experience this classic like it's the very first time. The technical and aesthetic achievement of this remake cannot be understated. Shadow of the Colossus already boasts breathtaking visuals and vistas, but to once again leave us in a newfound state of awe at their beauty speaks volumes to the visual fidelity. Its ability to make familiar areas feel brand new, and the staggering amount of painstaking attention put into the environments caught me off guard on more than one occasion. One of the best new additions is the option to play the game at a silky smooth 60 frames per second in performance mode. All other previous iterations of this game have had various degrees of performance issues and never quite hit the 60 frames per second mark 100% of the time. And for those of you who are turned off by that, there is a cinematic mode that offers 30 frames per second if you prefer the older style. Nothing but that. While nothing major has been added to the game, there are small additions here and there, including the extras like a gallery with comparison shots and concept art, as well as at least one new game item, which is earned through the time trials, which are unlocked after beating the game. You can also opt for another playthrough on New Game Plus, but this time around you can take your progress into any of the 3 difficulty settings. Previously, this was not possible in any iteration. There's also a new option upon completing the game to play the game in mirror mode. The controls are a slight improvement over the HD remaster in the original version. You can now select from one of several button layouts to suit your style, ranging from the original setup to a more modern configuration. The grip mechanics feel better too, with fewer frustrating situations than I recalled from past playthroughs. The tension and struggle of trying to take down these massive beasts is largely preserved, but whether it's my familiarity with the game or the minor refinements made to Wander's movement, making my way into each Colossus and slaying them felt a bit easier than I recalled. I'm going to go with I just played the game a lot of times. Shadow of the Colossus sets the standard for remakes with its gorgeous visuals, new extra features, and refined controls. The essence of what made it great remains pure and untainted. The epic battles against the Colossi, the great atmosphere, the amazing sense of wonder, and one of the best soundtracks to grace the video game. It's a class act that manages to rekindle the raw emotion of exploring the Forbidden Lands for the first time and reminds us once again that video games can truly be works of art.
What's
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I know.
It's kind of fun, wasn't it?
That just flips the world. Weird.
All right. You're conceding the rest of your time. You had like a minute left.
Oh, wow. No, the video was
you
like...
take the minute?
You took longer. Yeah, I guess I read faster.
You also skipped some
skipped the paragraph.
Oh, yeah, I skipped the paragraph because it was pointless, like the photo mode. But I do want to say, people are like... I see some people yelling about like copying and pasting a review. What else do you want me to say? I wrote a review about this game that was like the most perfect way I could word it. I'm literally I did the work. It's me. It's not, there's no like copying, pasting, like I did the work. And I think the PS4 version is the definitive version. So I'll say, I'm rebutting chat right now. It's like, what else did you want me to do? Like, come here, like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, I'm not the greatest public speaker. I need something in front of me. So sorry.
I kind of would you
Chat rebut it.
Yeah. Wait. All right.
You can go to rebuttals now. Go ahead.
Well, this isn't a rebuttal. I just want to ask a favor. If it doesn't get in the Hall of Greats tonight, and you want to bring it back at a later date, can we get that? Can we get the? Yeah, it was kind of cool. Like I would mention as well.
He would have to get both. He would have to do it for the original show.
Right. You'd have to. Yeah.
But,
all right. Rebuttal start right now. I'll kick it off. Feels weird to do a remake, man. Because when I think back on the PlayStation 2 version of Shadow of the Colossus, there's not a lot. I'm like, oh, this game didn't do this. You know, and like I think there's a lot of charm. Like even though like the frame rate stutters, I think there's a charm to it. Like they can improve the gameplay, and on the back end, there's a lot of like save functionality and other things that just kind of make the entire process a lot easier. But it's interesting to me to bring a game into Hall of Greats that already, I think, on its own, was no question somebody would, people would argue that whether it gets voted in is one question, but whether that is already one of the Hall of Greats.
I feel like one of my biggest complaints about the original version of Shadow of the Colossus is how sparse the world feels, because there's not much to do other than find your way to each of the Colossi, and not much to do along the way. It's still a good-looking game, the original PS2 version. This remake, what it does visually, and I know people argue you can use your imagination to fill in like what the world should have looked like. Your imagination should do the work. What Blue Point did here did like wonders for me. Like I had such a good time. It brought me such a sense of wonder seeing the world fully realized to its like potential, like visually. Like going through the fields on Agro, and like there were lush hills with grass and everything and vegetation. I was like, oh my gosh, like just riding over that bridge to the second Colossus, and it was like the original version, it's just water down there. Like seeing the waterfalls and the rocks, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it feels like an actual world. Like it just complements it so well. And I think that's why it elevates this version over the original one, and why I choose the remake over the original here.
Yeah, it's a better version, clearly.
I have a question, Damiani. Maybe spoilers. How could you? How could you play this again? How could you?
Wanted to see if I could, escape the pool at the end, falling into it. When you're rolling back at it.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe this version they'll let me get back
I'm
to.
pretty sure you can. You just gotta hold
It's
on
like,
real hard.
I can do it. I can get to her. It's like, just gonna keep rolling. It'll work. Doesn't work in this one. But yes, the game. Playing it again after you realize what you've actually done, like you were technically the bad guy in this game.
Okay,
But
actual spoilers.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. We're talking about it, but I mean you're doing it for like what you believe are right intentions. It's like basically it's like the moral quandary here is like, is there really right? What is really right and what is really wrong here? Like it's everyone's
To
perspective.
the ends justify.
Yeah. I love that
Isn't
about this
saving
game.
the sleeping woman a little tired, Damiani?
Yeah, Ueda has said some questionable things about that, especially about like Eco, why the boy is always in front when they're leading and stuff. But I mean that I don't think it is as offensive in this game. It's just someone trying to save who they love. It just happens to be. I mean, it's playing into the trope, but. It's not like the character like Wander is like overly masculine or anything. It just like looks like an average person. I don't think it's like conveying any real stereotypes at that. I actually honestly think because of how Wander looks, you could probably like, juxtapose your own like views and personality onto that character because they only show emotion towards the one they love. Really, there's like no voice work. There's nothing like that. It's pretty much just you in there. So, I mean, who cares? Like, you want Wander in your mind, if you want Wanderer to be, like, a girl or something, who cares? Like, nothing really in the game that says, other than people addressing Wander as a he. It's like, who cares? Just ignore the text. Be like, yeah, whatever, the person just misspoke. I don't know.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I played that game back in the day, I kept thinking, I can't believe this is on a PlayStation 2. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe that huge thing that I'm fighting, that all those battles that I just had, and there's like a dozen of these things, I can't believe it. The version on PS4 looks really good, but I can believe it. I can believe it. It wasn't, Blue Point didn't achieve something technical that I thought was impossible. They put more work into it than I thought was not warranted, but that I thought your typical port company brings to a game. They're like, wow, they clearly cared about this, but this was not impossible. Like, wow, it looks a lot better, but it was not, it's like, if you can have 12 or 13 or 14 Colossi on the PlayStation 2, how many could you really fit on the PS4? I can't stop thinking about it. You have a game that is just pushing itself out of that console versus, we got this. It's in 4K, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not doing anything...
Sorry. That happens, the sneak in, sorry. Wonderful game.
Next up will be Brad.
Okay.
Will be presented by Mr. Ian Hinks.
Correct.
Do you have any sunglasses to put on you?
Oh yeah.
Ian, were you specifically selected?
I told him I would do it.
Specific.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise it would.
So you just knew he wasn't here, and he was not going to be here, and he said, "Oh, Phil, this is not like there's no backdoor shady deals happening." This is not like
he had a migraine, and I said, "Brad, do you want me to pinch hit for you?
Got it.
So that your game is in." I didn't know what game he was doing at the time, and he said, "Yeah, sure, go for it."
You didn't say pinch hit.
I did actually, but I wasn't positive if it was right. But he didn't correct
Took a
me,
swing.
so- yeah, I took a swing.
Took a swing.
Is that
Pinch
also basketball?
Football.
Oh, okay.
Got it. Pong. It's pong.
Pong. All right.
Taking a swing.
We gotta wait for.
Yeah.
We're good. All right, so I've got my sunglasses on. I'm Brad.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay.
Go.
Hello, my name is Brad. Shit. Fuck. Tonight I will be presenting, I believe, legitimately, one of the best games ever created by human hands. It took an extant series and brought it into a new dimension. It brought it, not actually literally into a new dimension, but it brought it into the future. It made this game, it breathed new life into a series that had already been beloved and had already had 3 incredible entries, and just made it something so much more incredible, and just to this day, I have nothing but fond memories of this game, and we quote it almost constantly, and that game is Resident Evil 4. Damn, this game is good. It looks good. It feels good. The original village area is one of my favorite areas in video gaming history. And I told Brad that once I said the title of the game, that anybody could chime in. So if Hubert or anybody, if you have something you want to add, I think that's allowed because Brad's not here. But
Is this the first game that did over-the-shoulder camera?
first
Not
ever.
Not the first.
Okay,
I
I
don't
love
think
it.
the
I
first
love
ever.
the camera in this
The
game.
camera in this game is amazing.
Yeah.
I just
Or
thought
over
of
the
the
shoulder, yeah.
salesperson guy. What are you buying?
Yes.
Like he's so good, and the way that characters come in and out of the story, they really feel like they have their own lives. Like Ada's coming in, and like all these things are happening, and you're going through. The game takes you to familiar kinds of settings in the Resident Evil universe, while also shaking things up, and like it's got similar ideas with the viruses and everything, but they did it in a way that felt fresh and new. Shooting all the medallions is really awesome. You know, I'm just kind of making this up as I go, but this game is amazing. And
New Game Plus, baby.
New Game Plus,
Leveling up weapons and then going back to New Game Plus.
Yes.
And just breaking out your pistol.
Yes.
You're like, I just got my dinky pistol, but at the beginning of this game, it rules.
Also, upgrading the pistol in this game
Yeah.
feels so good.
Yeah.
Oh man, that fully
the red
upgraded.
nines, the red 9.
Pops
The
heads
guns
right
in
off.
this game feel so good. Also, this game has been re-released, remade on several different consoles. It's a game that is so good that I beat it on someone else's GameCube and then bought it for myself on Wii and beat it again, like 2 or 3 times.
Like, we're talking about the Wii version, right?
Well, yeah, I love the Wii version personally.
Yeah.
Like, aiming with the Wii remote felt, for me, I loved. I know some people didn't like it, but I thought that was really great. But the game is so strong that it works if you play with the controller or the Wii remote just as well. Man. Wasn't Mercenaries in this?
Mm-hmm.
That Mercenaries was sweet. Mercenaries was awesome. Like, I don't usually dive into a multiplayer or horde mode. And man, I loved it. I got really into that. I don't know. What else do we love about this game? Anything? Everything?
I built up too much stuff I don't love.
Tell me
I'm too
about
ready for the
how
new
when
ones.
you kill somebody, weird stuff pops out of their head, and then you gotta deal with that.
The first time that happens, the first time you shoot something's head off and there are big snakes things like larvae, damn, it's so much fun. And then you have to shoot again.
looks.
The lava looks good. The caves look good. The castles look good.
The
The
ogre.
6 different endings look great.
Oh, yeah.
There aren't really that many endings, but it's like Lord of the Rings 3. It kind of goes. But, man, I don't know. I just love this game.
sequence is cool.
Part where you are trapped in that room with the alien-looking thing.
Oh, the
Yeah.
regenerator?
Is it?
Generators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zombie Island.
With the regenerator
The
part of
cabin,
it.
when you're there, when you're in the cabin,
way
they're all
they, like-
rushing in from their windows,
Yes.
the upstairs,
Yes.
the
Was
downstairs.
the Ada chapter in the original?
PS2.
They added that later. Okay,
PS2,
yeah.
Ada
That was
in the
great.
game,
Ada
but
was there, but
yeah.
you play as her chapter. Like,
Krauser.
that was sweet.
Separate ways.
Separate ways, yeah.
Maybe some of the best QuickTime events.
Some pretty brutal quick time events. Yeah, pretty brutal quick time events.
Tell me about it.
The escort quests, sure, but I think that all in all, it made that game feel so good, and everything about it is just beautiful. Oh man, Resident Evil 4.
All right,
Rebut Brad.
I'll rebut. The writing in this game is horrible. All of it. No way. There's no line. You're like, oh, that scene was so emotional from RE4. Like Mr. Kennedy. Like, I love how when you get with President's daughter, she like hits on you on the jet ski. She's like, well, I just almost died. What are you doing tonight? You want to go back and shag? I'm 16. It's like, what? Like the first one of the first things he gets on with Hunnigan is he's like, so the subject's name is, I don't remember her name from the game. He's like, that's the subject's name. You're like, yeah, it's the president's daughter. It's the girl you were assigned to as a Secret Service agent to protect. Yeah, that's her.
What is her name?
Ashley.
something, yeah.
Ashley. Yeah.
So it's the president's daughter, right? And you're just like, what? It's just that, like, I like every time I go back and play that, I'm like, oh, it's to me, it is one of the most replayable video games in history. I mean, it's just like and it came out on PS4. I'm like, well, I'm playing this game 3 more times. Like, I will never not play that game. But I just every time,
You don't get.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that's the style of the whole series, though,
Yeah,
right?
I
I
was
mean,
gonna
that's
say,
part of
yeah.
the style, sort of like a horror, like it's like that horror.
I just
like
in the other
fun
Resident Evils, it
horror,
was
action,
it had that fun camp. You know, it was like, that's silly. Whereas in 4, it's like, oh, geez.
Dude, 4 is
4 has
so
some funny camp.
yeah.
It's
4 has
so
some fun
funny.
camp.
Yeah.
That little Napoleon guy is ridiculous.
Salazar.
He's got a giant robot version of himself that
Yeah.
chases you.
All the notes are dumb, which was frustrating because in the previous Resident Evil games, you're like, I broke in this guy's office and I found a thing. Whereas like you finally meet, or not Salazar, you finally meet like the big bad and he leaves and he's like, I left that note on the table behind me explaining everything I was gonna do.
Fair.
Oops. You know, like what? Like
Very fair.
Your computer is updating? I don't know if it finished there. But yeah, I mean, yeah. But you're not
it's not a
playing-
game you're playing for story.
You're not playing
but
for the
it's
story.
Still, it's still bad.
I'm playing for
Still
sure.
bad.
I mean, story is the beats are fun, but yeah, the moment to moment.
Dun-
But what the story did for the series is awesome.
Yeah.
Tying in Wesker and Ada, like collecting all the viruses, evolving the viruses.
What's the virus
all,
called in this? I can't
Las
remember.
Plagas?
Las
Plagas.
Plagas.
All
Yeah,
about Wesker
great.
trying to track down every virus to just gain power. I think that's so super
I mean,
cool.
to me, the pacing, there's so many people complaining about the pacing, like how long I thought, I mean, there's never a point in the game I wasn't having fun. Every time I realized it was going to keep going, like I was so excited
It's the
because I
gift that
never
keeps on
expected it.
giving.
And I was like, what? There's a
Yeah.
whole other section
Surely the
here?
game
Like,
is
when you're
over
on the
after
boat-
I do this,
yeah,
and then
you're
you're
on
like,
the boat
oh, it's
for a
still
while,
done.
Hate
Yeah.
to do it. Tell me about escorting Ashley.
All right.
Just tell me about it.
It's not great, but the one part that everyone says is like the terrible part where she has to go and do the switches and you have to shoot off everything.
It's so hard.
It's really stressful.
It's so stressful.
It's really intense.
It is.
And that can be fun.
There's something about raising a door
Yeah,
and you can
yeah,
see the
yeah,
guy
yeah.
like getting up and like
That part is like super intense, and I didn't find it too irritating. Which normally I would just now on a lesser game would probably just stop, you know, that kind of a thing. But I think that it hits in the right moments, and like it feels when the escorty parts feel more like little set pieces. It doesn't feel like constant, and I think that's an important thing. Where like when an escort quest feels bad is when it's like all the time babysitting. This is like, this room, we're doing an escort thing, and then you go forward.
Also, I always love managing my inventories in Resident Evil, but especially Resident Evil 4.
Oh man.
Upgrading that briefcase and just moving everything and just making it so clean. I love it.
Yeah. It's truly a phenomenal game. Any other questions about it?
It's a 10.
It's a 10. But is it a great?
There's
will
like
tell.
there are bad parts.
Sure.
You're in that castle and there's just like waves of guys coming. Like that part's stupid. Dude, the castle's so good, man. The hedge maze.
With the black room? No. That part's great.
Just the guys that are just like, you gotta shoot crossbows at them. They're just.
They keep coming down the hole because that's the part with Ashley when she's like trying to open the thing.
Oh yeah, that part,
part's brutal.
They're
That's
just
the part I
spawning.
was talking about.
They're just spawning. They're not people who follow that way. They're just spawned enemies. You know?
I also hear
But
from
that was kind of for that puzzle.
yeah.
So
I see a lot of people complain that it's not scary. I disagree because there were parts in RE4 that gave me some good jumps.
it's like
But,
jumpy kind of. I mean, I
It's
don't really
way
have a lot of
scary. Get out of here.
atmosphere.
For me, the Resident Evil, and like Huber maybe back me up, like Resident Evil is like that kind of, it exists in what I would call like cozy horror, where it's not about,
Cozy horror.
it's not really like, it's like going to the Haunted Mansion, like you feel awesome
Yeah,
while
it's not
you're
going to
there.
upset you.
Right.
It may
Like,
freak you out, but you're not going to be upset about
Resident
it.
Evil
There was
7
even games
has
that
like
upset me.
horror
Yeah.
moments, but this is more
spiders.
just like cozy, fun, nice,
upset me.
you know?
The ones where you got to like the heat gun and you got to find their heart with the heat gun.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
That's
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
They're generators.
And they
That's the
shake.
scariest thing in the world.
Yeah,
Their generators are the scariest part of the whole game.
good.
for me.
Nobody's
that's
brave
why-
during that part.
All right.
Next card.
That was some good pinch hitting.
Yeah. I mean,
Good pinch.
Wow.
Good
hit.
pinch.
not coming
Good
in
pinch
with
and hit.
anything in mind for
Well
that.
done, man.
Next up, we have Dom.
Tonight's my night. Can feel it.
Oh, you're wearing the pin, dude.
Tonight everything will change. Yes,
Nice
my lucky.
pin.
Cool.
Got my lucky,
Lucky pin. Up, upside down.
You know, the new Assassin's Creed Origin expansion is basically the Mummy.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So get that game. Be
I gotta get the game. You saw Jeff Goldblum in the Jurassic World game?
Are mummies, like, okay in that
that's a nice development.
They contextualize it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because remember, even in the original, they have the apple.
I love how somebody's got to do research after everything. It's too much.
Like,
I gotta leave the room for 5 minutes.
Mummies aren't sci-fi though, you know what I mean?
I mean, Apple of Eden mind controlling people.
It's not just computers. You can do anything with computers.
Right.
Computers.
So Don, I guess the only great thing about Jeff Goldblum is just means the game's got a budget, you know?
Oh yeah.
They're not phoning it in.
Definitely.
It's like sometimes you get mad when a
throughout
game is
the
kind
entire
of
thing, he
lumped
said,
into
too.
a movie. You're like, no, they're only making that game because they're making the movie. But in this, it's like, no, yeah, go do it. Like, that's the type of Jurassic Park game we want. Go for it.
He
Like,
said he'll be with you through the entire thing. So
Whoa!
Yeah.
not just some
So
cheap
he's like
thing
your-
they did.
yeah.
No, he's like a character in the whole game.
Cool.
And he rated it 10 out of 10 Goldblum. So.
The
That's the scale he uses.
Hubert, can I get a handful of those too?
You
dude?
just want me to start when
Thanks,
you
man.
Tell you around. So for everyone, I sometimes have gone over the limit a little bit in the past. I've prepared a video to ensure, even though although in all honesty, the video ended up being like 8 minutes, so I had to cut out a decent amount. So he's still not going to get everything, the whole argument, but.
So it's just the video.
Yeah.
just want to hear the video, not us.
The video will fill the 5 minutes. Yeah, I think so. They will probably want to hear that.
Cool.
So roll it.
Pandemonium is a platforming adventure game which was released in 1996 for the PlayStation. This was a unique watershed moment for video games, and it was because Pandemonium was born during this turbulent time that it never was widely recognized as being the great game that it is.
Pretty nasty, huh, Vargas?
1996 was a time between worlds. It was at the tail end of a transition between 2D and 3D gaming which had been building for several years. And now, 3D games were truly coming into fruition. It was this fateful year which brought us games like Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil, and the proverbial game changer Mario 64. Pandemonium is a game split right down the center. It had one foot in a perfected past, and another foot stepping forward into a brave new future. So you can see how easy it was for a hybrid like that to be undeservingly underappreciated. Tonight, I will show off this bonkers platformer and give my allies an opportunity to correct history by giving Pandemonium the recognition it deserves as one of the greats. The spectacular opening cinematic introduces the main characters, a jester named Vargas and an acrobat named Nikki. When the game begins, we find ourselves leaping and bounding through a colorful 3D world filled with magic and fancy footwork. But wait, we caught ourselves thinking at the time, is this 3D? It sure looked like it because most of the in-game assets are in fact 3D models, but the gameplay path is linear. Yet, it is as non-linear as linear can be, considering the twists and turns, loops, and diverging paths the player would encounter. What would soon be well established as a 2.5D platformer, the game seemed to be a masterful exercise in the difficult side-scrolling platforming from the 2D past and the seemingly limitless freedom and eye-bursting visuals of the 3D future. I will now list a few of the features in the game to give you a sense of what made it so solid. You navigate the world using a mini-map where you can choose between playing as the jester or the acrobat, each with their own advantages. As you move through each level and you pay attention to the background art, which is often presented as 2D drawings, you will shortly find yourself exploring those very same drawings, which have now sprung to life with glorious dimension. But this game is not merely a visual feast for you to stumble through. It is difficult, very difficult, as you start with only 2 hit points and the platforming requires constant focus and precision, as the smallest of mistakes lead to death quickly and unforgivingly. It features over 20 unique yet connected levels, which all have checkpoints along the way. You can expand your health gauge and find a variety of magical abilities by exploring the many secret areas, often guarded by lock and key. If you are brave and focused, you can explore a plethora of diverging paths and hidden areas. There are many areas of the levels which have delightful and surprising interactive elements. Watermelons can be bounced off of, statues can be toppled, streams can be splashed in, mossy hillsides can be slid upon, spider webs can be explored, and much more. During certain levels, you have the ability to transform into a variety of creatures, which each have their own navigational and combat techniques. The worlds in which you then traverse are thus tailored to these creatures' navigational abilities, and it adds one more succulent topping to this psychedelic layer cake. Many of the platform scenarios and devices found throughout the game are either flattering imitations or genius inspirations to those found in many of the best platformers, such as the Donkey Kong Country and Rayman franchises. To be living during 1996, it was full speed ahead for 3D games, and anything 2D automatically received a stigma attached to it as being outdated. So although the glory of 3D gaming was now actually upon us, people at the time were too easily dismissing 2D platforming as an archaic system which had no place in the future of gaming. These sentiments are reflected in the many reviews of the time, which, when perused, all share the common similarities in that they praised the game for being mechanically solid, creative, and fun, yet they criticized and dinged the game's score based solely on the fact that it was not a fully committed 3D game, as if somehow being a great 2D platformer was a reason to not value it. As it turns out, now, many years later, 2D platforming has in fact been reborn in ever greater glory, and it is with this added context of the times which we now have the chance to set things right. Let's honor Pandemonium in the Hall of Greats, and send out a message to the world that this game is great, and that we are hopeful for a great resurrection of the franchise in the future.
Let's see another one, Nikki.
Oh, heck, why not? Shurka Chandomal.
Whoa.
Great work, John.
Dude, I've never heard of that game, but it looked awesome.
Hall of Greats.
Vote it in!
All right, ready? Rebuttal start right now.
How do you rebut that?
I got it. So I've heard of this game. The name rang a bell. The characters rang a bell. I definitely remember that jester. But I haven't played it. But another game that I am familiar with, but haven't played, but I still know a lot more about that game than this, that I got a similar vibe, was Nights into Dreams. And I know you can fly in Nights. I believe that was on the Saturn that originated. So I don't know. I don't remember if that was before this game or not. And so, in one of the concerns that I have in evaluating this, is it's like, here's this game that's similar that I know, and that was on the Saturn, which is not as popular as the PlayStation, and yet, so I'm just wondering, like, if was Knights a better game, or is that?
I'm almost certain that came just a little bit after this, maybe the next year or shortly after, because I think this came before Saturn, I think.
But Knights is
real
Knights
close.
is like hard.
But I was gonna say
They're very different. They're very different games.
I haven't played all of Knights, but isn't a lot of Knights on rails, sort of?
Yeah,
or no? So
yeah.
this isn't anything like on rails at all. Even the one level you saw where you're being like forced forward, sliding down the path, you can actually like stop at any time and go back and forth, jump, do everything. So you're never like locked in. I never played Knights a lot, but I do remember that I remember feeling locked into it a lot in certain areas.
What makes the two characters different? You said you can pick either at the beginning of the level, right?
So the acrobat Nikki basically just can do a double jump, and then Fargus can do a cartwheel, like a forward cartwheel that he can use as an offensive attack. But other than that, they can all...
Why would you ever pick Fargus?
Knights came out.
Well, certain levels, depending on the level, they do have, like, advantages. And you tend to forget that. Like, I hadn't played the game in a long time until I had to buy it again. And I had forgotten, like, I got stuck on a couple places for a really long time. And then out of nowhere, I realized, like, oh, wait, I can be the other character. And there is a clear advantage to this level with that person. So it's like they're both possible to play through everything, but there are, like, definite advantages depending.
So Don, I was noticing it in the video, and I have to ask, does the boing every time you jump get annoying in the game at some point? Does that sound effect grate on you?
You know, it didn't for me. I didn't even notice it till I was actually looking over all the reviews. Like when I was looking over the reviews, that was brought up several times. And then after that, I was like, wait, is that effect even happening? And then I realized it was happening all the time. But so it didn't bug me, but it did bug a lot of people, I guess, back in the day too. That was one of the complaints I came across. Yeah.
So you said the game was pretty difficult?
Yeah, it's real difficult.
Is the story or motivation to get through these difficult levels, like, do you have a motivation? Like, what's the story basically?
The story, all it is, they set it up at the beginning, and then after that, there's really almost zero story throughout the game until much later. But at the time, the novelty of it being sort of 3D and how colorful and beautiful it looked, like that, it was just like an absorbing game. And now it holds up because it's a good platformer where you have that just requires like absolute precision all the time. It's not like it's sort of like how Rayman used to be back in the day. Now Rayman has evolved into something that's like, it's still really challenging certain parts of it, but it's also really forgiving at the same time. Like there are areas where you can kind of just be like blasting through, whereas Pandemonium, you just have to like stay focused all the time because out of nowhere you'll just be like dead. You know, there's no room for error anywhere.
Does it have a good ending?
The story ending? Or are you talking about the gameplay ending? Or the gameplay ending is good.
Both.
Okay, the gameplay ending, I think the whole game stands up. It even gets better as it goes, I would say. Like, the later levels are way better and more fun. But the story is sort of goofy. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a big twist at the end. I didn't see anyone else complain about it, but they did something at the end with the story that did actually kind of bother me. But it was at the very, very, very end.
It's a big twist?
It was just with the story. It's the very, very end. It's literally a spoiler.
Okay. So done.
But I mean, you beat the game. You're happy you beat it at that point. You really don't. You're not so involved in the story throughout it. You kind of forget what's going on.
Why not Pandemonium 2?
Oh.
Well, so Pandemonium 2, I did not. I only rented when I was younger. I've never really played through that whole one, and I don't remember what I didn't like as much about it. But I remember back when I was a kid, I didn't like the second one as much when I played it, and then I think from what I saw, it was reviewed lower as well in general. So I think it was also considered a pretty good game, but I think the first one was definitely more solid. I honestly can't remember what I didn't, but I do remember I rented it, and there was something about it where I was like, I didn't buy it, whereas back in the day, it was when I loved this game.
I thought some of those areas looked a little dark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is that the time?
Boom!
I just wanted to slip that in.
All right.
All right, grab our next
Poison.
And next is
Ian Hank.
Woo!
Yeah.
Ian Hank.
Candy time!
Isn't it cool? We just like
Yeah, I think I'm going for candy time.
Just candy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just walk over and get a handful of candy.
It's actually not cool for me because there's way too much candy in here at all times.
Brandon.
I had to put Ian Skittles in my car because I knew at 2 a.m. there's gonna be no holding back.
I think Damiani might have still been there. Do you remember when GT used to get a bunch of candy? When they would like go down and they get like the pallets of stuff and then it'd be beef jerky and stuff. And it's like you knew that like those first 3 days you better get that beef jerky or it's not gonna be there for a month.
I loved when we first started working at Defy Media and we judged Defy Media on like the food on offer.
Mm-hmm. Oh right.
So I would come in and then Hugo would be like, "Did you try those breakfast bars? Pretty good." I'm just saying. Us taking our review critic prowess and applying it to other areas.
Defy had great snacks.
Defy did have good snacks.
Yeah.
I started getting like skin problems from eating too many candy bars at Defy.
Yeah.
Well, I had the issue earlier because I similarly when I worked at the Union Rescue Mission, like Nestle was a donor, and so there would like always be Baby Ruths like constantly available. Ruth. And so like I just after a while I couldn't eat them anymore.
I was gonna wait until he finished talking, but I mean, if you want to just jump in there with the Goonies reference, you beat me to the punch.
Were you gonna do it?
Of course, Baby Ruth. Come on.
These two with the references.
But I wasn't going to do the Ruth first. I was just going to go straight to Baby Ruth?
I live for these Skittles.
I live for these Skittles.
You got, like, what, visual representation?
I got all kinds of stuff going on here, John.
Oh, my goodness.
Should we do a recap of what's happened so far?
Yeah, we can't see it on our screen.
We can't see what's been nommed.
Oh, and we don't have Salad Mike over there.
Yeah, but I got all the things here.
Okay.
First up with Mr. Kyle Bosman, he brought Mega Man Legends, a game that he is very passionate about and has brought previously to the Hall of Greats induction ceremony. Mr. Daniel Bloodworth rocked the couch. You were very taken aback by his suggestion of Dark Souls.
It blew my mind.
Who brought
Geralt
Dark Souls
himself
the first
bringing
time?
Dark Souls to the Hall
I
of
don't know
Greats.
who brought it the first
Brad
time.
brought it?
I think it probably was Brad.
I think it was Brad.
I
don't know if it was me. I thought I brought Bloodborne, but
I brought Pong. We'll see what happens. Mr. Michael Damiani
Bold choice.
suggested Shadow of the Colossus, not on the PlayStation 2.
Remake.
2018.
The couple of months old, 1 month old?
yeah.
PlayStation 4 remake of Shadow of the Colossus. Mr. Brad Ellis, not in attendance tonight, but Mr. Ian Hank just did a lovely job of letting us all reminisce about the wonder that is Resident Evil 4.
It was a group effort. Resident Evil 4.
Mr. Don Casanova just bringing Pandemonium.
Hell of a video.
Literally bringing Pandemonium into the stream.
Yeah.
And now we wait with bated breath
Okay.
for the entry from Mr. Ian.
So, are we ready?
Oh, we're ready.
So my pick is a little unorthodox. Also from the 70s.
Nice.
A game with an amazing storied past that has literally changed the world for the better. Certainly it has had an immense impact on our lives, all of our lives. But more so, probably, I would say Brandon, myself, Kyle, Huber, Ben, a lot of Ben, and Brad. My pick, I actually have with me here because I carry it with me always. Dungeons and Dragons. Kyle said I could. So, originally designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. This is just a little bit of history from the Wikipedia. It was first published in 1974 by Tactical Studies Rules. The name of that company is very funny to me because you have to tactically study these rules to play this game. But then it's been published by Wizards of the Coast since 1997. It's had a few different versions over the years. In 77, they split it to being a rules light version, basic Dungeons and Dragons, and a rules heavy version, advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And then in 2000, they released 3rd edition, which formed the basis of the D20 system that a lot of different role-playing systems use. It's under open license, so you can make a game using a D20 die if you want. And then 3.5 was released in 2003, 4th edition in 2008, and 5th edition, my personal favorite edition, and the edition that I'll be basing most of this around, came out in 2014. What I love about Dungeons & Dragons is that it's flexible, and it's as flexible as you want it to be and as rigid as you want it to be, as your player base and your DM as you want it to be. So if you want to do a super hardcore simulation style, like Oregon Trail, like you have to eat every X hours and you have to pay money for your lodgings and you have to use all your materials for spells and stuff, you can do that. There are rules for that. It exists in the game. But if you want to do a looser, more story-based, more RP-based, kind of more free-form role-playing session, you can do that too. And both are correct. Both are in the rules, supported by actual documentation, and everything is great. I love the way that 5e is written and presents the mechanics of this game. I think it's the clearest and most concise version of Dungeons & Dragons so far. I think it takes all the best parts of Dungeons & Dragons in the past and excises things that weren't working at the time. They play tested this version heavily. I think this is the truest and purest form of Dungeons & Dragons that exists today, because, again, it has, where 3.5 has a lot of similar elements, I think this has a little more flexibility for that kind of storytelling version of Dungeons & Dragons. Just the flexibility, the possibilities with Dungeons & Dragons are basically infinite. You can do a sci-fi version, you can do a horror version, you can do any of the other versions you want, but even in the traditional fantasy setting, using monsters from the Monster Manual or the Player's Guide or the Dungeon Master's Guide, the amount of beautiful player-driven antics that you can get into are literally unlimited. Limited only by your own imagination. And that's the most important thing for me about Dungeons & Dragons, is that it rewards your own creativity. It's about building a character, living another life. It lets you dream. It lets you be in this world and experience it with your friends, with collaborators. And, I mean, this is all bolstered by, I mean, we're lucky enough to have an amazing DM, but, like, if the DM is good, like, you're constantly being surprised and given the license to soar, you know, the wind beneath your wings is a good DM. And they have pre-made campaigns if you want to follow a story that was already written for you that are really good by and large. The ones I've played are really good. I know you liked Strahd a lot. In general, I would say, in my final seconds, I would just say that D&D is a game about experience and imagination and unlimited potential. And I think that it hits on all of that so much. And it's just a beautiful game.
Nice.
What if I don't like people?
Hold on.
Jones is ready to go off.
Oh no, I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh no.
What if I don't like people? Will I have fun?
No.
It's a good read.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. I do think that reading these books is very enjoyable. You can get through it and read it. I think that for someone who like hates being around people, this game wouldn't necessarily be for you, and that's fine. Like, not every game has to be for everybody, I think. But I mean, you could easily read the books and write a fiction by yourself based on the systems and stories that would be very enjoyable. Like, you could write fan fiction of Dungeons and Dragons world that would be amazing, and you could have a blast with that. And the systems presented here would present a really good jumping off point for you. That later, you could make it into some kind of like huge franchise if you changed the specifics,
But it could also be bad. You said your only limits are your imagination. Like, my limits are my imagination. And so, like, if you're not imaginative, you could have a bad time with this.
Well, that's why I think that the collaborative nature of Dungeons and Dragons, especially having a good DM, bolsters that, fixes that. Like, if you particularly are not having a great imagination on that day or ever, your cohorts will get you into situations that then you can react to. The beauty of Dungeons and Dragons is that you can power it forward with your imagination and you can react to great situations. And I think that it's equally strong in both suits. Do you have something, Don?
In the 1990s, Capcom released two of the greatest arcade games ever made, in my opinion. I might get the names wrong, but Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara. They were re-released on the 360, I believe, a few years ago when I got them. Those games are brilliant.
Yes.
Why not bring something like that? They're both Dungeons and Dragons.
I was introduced to D&D with Polar Radiance on the C64, but yeah.
Why wouldn't you bring like the earliest video games that were video game pretty much adaptation of the like Ultima series?
There's no rule in the rulebook that says it has to be video games.
Also, I find this line of questioning very bizarre.
Well, you have two rules.
Why didn't you guys all bring?
I have two valid questions.
I just meant like, why not bring like one of the many dungeons? Because I just meant like
because I think
bunch of
the answer, the real answer to that question is, I think that why not go to the source? Why not go to one of the greatest, in my opinion, games ever created that literally changed the world and is the father of tabletop RPG?
But I have a point to that.
Okay.
You're talking about first edition.
Okay, Damiani doesn't care because it's not video game.
Obviously this is a sticky widget, and I think it's difficult. It's like it's not a video game, but we can allow it. But I have an issue when you come in and you're like, from the 70s to 2018, the whole thing, every book, every edition, every series, everything you've ever done. It's like pick first edition or fifth, but don't
saying that specifically.
Well, you said it was created in the 1970s, and you pulled out fifth edition. So fifth edition is the submission.
Yeah.
So if it's accepted and it goes into the game we were playing before, the thing that spins on the table is going to be the fifth edition version.
If it bothers you, yeah.
Well, and it doesn't bother me, but when you say
it's the same game.
When you say Dungeons and Dragons, rings both bells. You got the nostalgia, and look at what they've done over 50 years of creation.
Nostalgia.
But you said it's like it led to all of these amazing advancements. But fifth edition didn't do that.
Fifth edition.
You want it. It's kind of like coming and saying all of Zelda. It's like, well, you pick one. It's like, and the other issue that I have is that you said you're only limited by your imagination. You can add things to it. That's true of role playing. That's true of tabletop. That's true of That's true of Monopoly. You can do free parking. It's not in the rules. It's like there are lots of games, but just by the nature of not being hard coded and being played on a system.
The systems are hard coded to.
But even those are, if Gary Gygax's not going to kick down your door and being like, you're playing it wrong. Like, you can do whatever you want with those rules where, like, you can't change RE4. RE4 is
that's in the... Is that bad? What are you arguing?
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a bonus that does not directly and exclusively apply to Dungeons and Dragons.
In the book, it literally says, hey, if you don't like this rule, don't do it. So they've included that in the rules.
Right.
What is your criticism?
I think it's way more difficult to code, don't do that, or maybe try this into a game and not just write, you can take that out if you want. It's
more difficult to make Mount Rushmore than to make a sandcastle, but they're both great.
True, but I would vote for the Mount Rushmore over the sandcastle.
Yeah.
So
do it then.
I mean, I simply say, like, I appreciate the creativity of coming at this, but I at the same time, I don't think that it fits in, and I don't want to be arguing against Scrabble or baseball or anything like that in the future. So I'm just saying I'm out on that.
Speaking with his vote.
Oh, damn.
Controversy, baby.
Sorry, I guess.
Baseball has good systems.
You can bring MLB the show.
Yeah.
Ben is next.
Ben Moore.
Go ahead, man.
Thanks, man.
Sorry,
Thanks, man. The tension in the room.
Yeah, the
definitely
tension.
really-
it was tension.
Escalated.
There is
what I think-
tension.
that's
I'm
what I'm coming
nervous.
for. That's what I want.
I'm so nervous.
All right.
Ah!
One second.
Oh,
I think your thing is-
okay. Can I have you do that when I?
I should have brought
Totally.
Fortnite.
I'll totally do it. Give me a section.
Brought it.
Feeling the nerves. Coming up last, he's already feeling
So
the
I should
nerves.
still time. How long is the video?
No. The video will be playing while I'm speaking,
Got it.
so it's
Is there
not
audio
part.
in the video that I need to worry about? or
No.
mute?
You don't need to worry about the audio. I'm mostly doing it for the visual.
Cool. Then I am
Everyone wants D&D to win. Actually, chat right.
Chaos, bring it.
I'm not mad. I just think that cowardice is ruling people.
Yes. Because actually, I don't
Cowardice.
think it's a fair argument to say what Scrabble and baseball next. Because like if somebody brings Scrabble and it wins, then it's in the Hall of Greats.
Right. Like,
You know
who
what I
gives
mean?
a shit if it's not a
we-
video game?
You knew what my
Just in the interest of
question
full
was, right?
disclosure,
Like, why
I
not
guess
bring
I
more
wrote
D&D
a script for
games
this
or
this
video
morning.
games?
So I'm
Okay.
trying a new
That's what I was
approach.
thinking.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
was saying, like,
what
why not
time
bring
this
more
morning?
D&D video games?
about
They would
10 a.m.
lose.
Okay,
About 10 a.m.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. If
I'm
it
not
was
being
11,
pouty.
it's
I
too
don't
late.
know. Yeah, you know, it was only a couple hours ago.
All right.
Like, what do you call morning? You know.
Right. Okay. Are we ready, Damiani?
I'm ready for you.
All right. When we at Easy Allies talk about remakes, and we do it a lot, there is a name that always keeps coming up. It is the standard by which we judge everything else. A name that is spoken with reverence and admiration. A name that, despite how many times we revisit it, still completely captivates us. Still gives us the same level of emotion as when we were talking about it at game trailers together all of those years ago. And that game is Resident Evil Remake. It takes the foundation of the monumental, inarguably monumental survival horror game and brings it closer to what the developers had in mind. Each new edition feels like a dramatic enhancement rather than a tacked on bullet point. It is a new standard, it set a new standard for remakes that even today is almost never matched with the amount of stuff that they put in Resident Evil Remake. It came out almost 16 years ago, March 22nd, 2002, and it still looks great. Damiani, cue the video. It's because the reason it looks great is because of how effectively it brings the Spencer Mansion, one of the most iconic survival horror settings, to life. It takes something so familiar to players across the world and manages to make it more terrifying than ever before. Moments like walking through a candlelit dining room as a storm rumbles on outside is forever seared into our memories because of how meticulously it's constructed. There are many terrifying enemies and dramatic moments in Resident Evil, but what truly sets the game apart is how it generates a sense of dread. Shots are framed in such a way and sounds are played with to the point where it always feels like something can happen even if nothing does. Simply walking through a room is often just as intense, if not more intense, than taking down an enemy. However, if it was just a dramatic visual overhaul, Resident Evil Remake would still be talked about fondly, but we're far from over. It adds an entire cut subplot from the original game. Lisa Trevor's story is incredibly tragic. She's a young girl who's ruthlessly experimented on, becoming a shackled monster that lumbers after the player. Even if you don't dig into her history, her haunting history, and read everything that is about Lisa Trevor, hearing the creature's painful cries to her mother tell you everything you need to know. It's not a moment that feels merely added to Resident Evil, but one that is integral to it. But who can forget the Fearsome Crimson Heads? These mutated versions of the game's most classic zombie enemy are absolutely menacing. They're fast and can only be killed by burning them or luckily blowing up their head. The whole idea of Crimson Heads is that they take something you know, something you've encountered countless times before, and make it exciting once again, serving as a perfect symbol for the remake itself. New defensive items like daggers and battery packs also add very needed moments of relief. Of course, there are things that already make the original Resident Evil great. Being able to play as two different characters who actually feel dramatically different is still impressive. The way the story bends around who you pick means you can't truly get the full picture unless you experience both. Resident Evil is not just a source of inspiration, a template for horror because of how old it is. No, it's because of how expertly it executes everything that is essential to horror. It presents a setting that is immediately nightmarish and only gets more twistingly grotesque as you carefully tread through it. Expending ammunition adds stress because you're constantly reminded how resilient the creatures you're facing are. There are countless survival horror games, even countless Resident Evil games, but few can compare to the thorough excellence of this remake.
Well timed.
Not suitable for advertisers.
35 seconds. You can see your turn.
The last thing that I want to say in the 30 seconds is that a lot of older horror games, when I revisit them, they don't scare me. It's not just because of spiders. This remake, if I were to play it today on the GameCube or whatever system, PS4, whatever it is, still frightens me. It still grips me. Maybe not as much as it did when it first came out, but it does still frighten me, and I think that is also very telling at its enduring legacy. That's it. I'm done.
So, how did this game do financially? Was it successful?
It was not very successful. It was not as okay. Let me phrase this correctly. It was not as successful as they wanted it to be, which paved the way for Resident Evil 4. But in Hall of Greats, I don't think we count financial success in terms of quality.
Yeah, where are you going with this?
Well, they just never remade Resident Evil 2, and so I'm wondering if that was.
They're
is that
doing
because
it
they
right
look
now.
back at this
Doing it right.
and think, it's just we messed up somehow. Just we can't.
No, I think what happened is it was critically extremely well received, and so they made a good thing. It just for one reason or another didn't connect, and so they went a different direction. But now they're going back. Everything comes in waves, Brandon Jones.
And they had a 3-game contract, so
they
they
on the GameCube.
Yeah, they had a 3-game contract, so they had to do that in Zero.
Well, Zero basically, was the same engine.
Yeah. So they just
was
a remake and a new game.
Zero is not one of the greats.
No.
Ben, you said it was something that was cut from the original?
Yeah, it was a subplot cut from the original Resident Evil.
Why?
I don't know why it was cut.
But you say it's
Time and
essential.
money, I think.
It's not ancillary. It's not like a little extra thing. It's like
what I was trying to say is that it feels essential. I think once you experience it, you're not going to be like, oh, okay, I don't really need that. It's not like some, they added a boss rush to the remake. I guess you could do it if you want. Where it's no, you're adding a lot to the story and the atmosphere and the human tragedy of this mansion. I wouldn't want to play this game without it now that I've experienced it.
Yeah. I have a question about the controls.
So
it uses what everyone dubs tank controls.
Yeah.
A lot of people argue that it lends itself so well to old REs for the nature of the atmosphere. You can't see around corners and stuff like that, so it contributes to the horror environment. I ask you about this. I want to know how you feel about the counter that what RE7 did with their perspective and still kind of preserve that feeling without resorting to those controls. And also in RE5, there's a DLC called Lost in Nightmare, which uses RE5's controls, but it goes back to a mansion, and it feels great. It feels almost the same as playing RE1 style, but it doesn't rely on tank controls. It still feels intense and scary, you can't always see around corners. My question is, do you feel that some of the newer games, like RE7, does the atmosphere and horror a little bit better than Resident Evil? Why would you pick this one over RE7?
Why would I pick Resident Evil Remake over RE7?
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons, but I guess specifically referring to the controls.
Atmosphere and control.
In my opinion, you hear a lot that the tank controls are bad, but I think the whole game, especially the remake, is in service to the controls. I think the controls are something you have to get used to. I think they're different than a lot of what you could play. But I think with the backgrounds and how things are presented, like you have, if you're smart about it and if you're careful with your items, that is more important than anything. Like you can deal with almost any situation. I think in other Resident Evil games, you don't have to be as careful because you're so mobile. And I think in Resident Evil, something that I like is it's hard for you to, like, you don't have a dodge or a roll or like a get out of jail free card a lot of times, unless you have like a defensive item, but those are consumable. I feel like, yes, you can run, and yes, there are times where that's very good, but because of your movement specifically, like, every shot counts. And because of the tank controls and the way things are presented, I feel like I care more about my resources in this style of game than in others. As far as the atmosphere, I think out of all the settings of Resident Evil, the Spencer Mansion is my favorite because what it does is it presents this very intimate setting. It presents this creepy haunted house that gets weirder, that gets more elaborate, that has a lab underneath it, but all of it kind of makes sense. Like it's this cool descent into madness that all feels like it's explained and there are reasons for it. And as you find out more about this family, you really get a sense of this one singular place. It feels more connected to me than any of the other settings that I've played in Resident Evil.
What makes the two characters significantly different?
So, I think most importantly, and the thing that I want to get out of the way and say is that the people that you encounter and how the story unfolds does change. Like the things that you see change, your interactions with people, and because there aren't that many people, like who you're talking to really matters a lot. And so I think that's the biggest thing. But otherwise, Jill has more of an inventory than Chris does. And that's important, and that'll play out. You also have a different item. So with Jill, you have the lockpick. And Chris.
Wow. I passed that.
Wowzers.
Who's next, Ben?
Oh yeah, I gotta pick the card. Oh yeah, it's Hubert. Yeah,
formalities. Yeah, formalities.
Is this going to be a Hall of Grace where Huber votes for 3 separate Resident Evil games?
I wish I brought Resident Evil 2 this time.
Can't vote for yourself.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That is nerve-wracking.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Shakes.
I don't want to go anymore, man. Resident Evil Remake, it's over.
I got 2 votes, baby. What else can I vote for?
All right. You just start it. Just go. I'm ready.
All right.
Okay. This is a game that needs no introduction. It is a game that you've heard it all before, and there's nothing really new that I can say about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. This game, this world is a little boy's dream come true. Just growing up watching movies, reading books, and playing video games, and entering these worlds is like my favorite thing to do on Earth. It's what I grew up with. And while games have pulled me into the worlds and sucked me in, The Witcher 3's world is maybe the first time I've ever felt like I was just in a book, in another reality, you know? And I think of even games like World of Warcraft that have these fully great realized worlds, Grand Theft Auto, but because The Witcher is so grounded, because there are over basically 100 fully realized characters that all have their own personalities and their stories, it has pulled me into this world unlike anything else before. And I think that's what it's all about. You know, again, there's not much I can say about The Witcher that you haven't already heard, but it's just about seeing the world through Geralt's eyes. Yeah, he is a world-weary, affable protagonist, but he's just the lens. Like so many people can play this game and see it so differently just because of the way you view the world, not the Witcher world, but just the way you view life. There are so many quests where there's a vampire that just wants to be left alone, or a succubus that just wants to be left alone, except she needs to feed on people to survive. So Geralt tracks her down, finds her, and she's like, yo, I'm just part of the food chain. Like, I'm just eating these people to live. Like, what do you want from me? I'm just living in this world. And you can choose to kill her or let her go. And just little moments like that, there are so many of them. And I go back to, beating the game and talking to Bloodworth about the different endings you can get. And the ending he got was different than the one I got. And we both felt so right in getting our own endings. He thinks I'm crazy. I think he's crazy. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And again, there are so many countless quests. There's the Tower Full of Mice quest, where you row over to this island and you have to investigate this like haunting presence. And it's this tragic tale of this girl's trying to do experiments. She botched it. She ended up dying and kind of releasing this plague. So everyone goes to like burn this place down and kill her. And then her one last wish, her spirit still remains. And her spirit is like, bring me to my one true love. Let me say goodbye to him. So you can bring the bones to him. It was all an act. She needed to break free from the curse from the island to like get revenge on him. If you leave the house, you can like hear him scream, and then she leaves and like can plague different parts of the map. It's just, it never ends. And there are so many games I love playing, and I think about playing, I always go back to the Bloodborne Witcher debate. I love playing Bloodborne, but here we are years and years later, and I still fall asleep at night and wake up in the morning thinking about these real connections that I made with these people in this game. Witcher 3.
You did not mention Gwent, and I want to know why.
Gwent! Forgot to mention Gwent.
Got 38 seconds.
38 seconds. There is an entire side game of Gwent that just further makes this world a reality. And if you go out of your way to collect all the cards and battle all these people, you can enter this high-stakes tournament with the best of the best players in the world. Then there's the Skellige quest in the DLC, where this guy was on a boat and he saw a vision and he needed to make a Skellige Gwent deck. And he's like, please, I'm not good enough, Geralt. You use this deck. If you win with it, everyone will take you seriously, and then we can actually have this Skellige Gwent deck in the rules. Like, why do rules need to be so strict and rigid? It's just all these commentaries, all these quests have a different meaning and a different payoff. Woo!
Skellige deck.
Skellige! There it is. 5 minutes of rebuttal.
Let's hear it.
Begin
Let's
right
go.
now.
Lay it on me.
Huber, there was a conversation we had for a long period of time. I'm not sure how long it was exactly. I'm not sure if it was a couple of weeks. I'm not sure if it was a month. I don't quite remember. But I remember you and I both being really frustrated because we liked The Witcher 3, we were interested in The Witcher 3, but there were so many bugs, so many problems right around the launch of that game. And I remember it kind of drug out your playtime because it was so bug infested at the beginning. Do you think that should be a knock against it?
I think Hall of Greats is all about where the game stands now, and The Witcher started rough, especially on console. It was a rough version. I remember one of my quests got bugged. It was really frustrating. I couldn't finish it, couldn't open this switch. But it's where the game stands now, and they patched that game and added to that game, and not just paid DLCs. They added additional quests and costumes, patched it up, made it smoother. They even improved the graphics on console somehow with a patch. They were like, yeah, it looks a certain % better now. It's like, what kind of magic are you doing now? So yeah, I think it's where it stands now, and if you boot that game up now, whether it's on PC, PS4, Xbox, butter.
What happens in the beginning of the game to make somebody excited about what's about to happen?
If you the entire purpose of this game is to track down Siri, who is your daughter. So anyone...
That's your daughter?
Yeah.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
She's not like your daughter.
Well, basically like a daughter, but none of the relationships are actually what they are. But you're a surrogate father basically to her.
Sure.
And just that alone is high stakes enough for me to immediately get invested. Tracking her down because you get to play as her too, so you can see.
Now that's a spoiler.
That's
It's early on in the game. Yo, we just spoiled Shadow of the Colossus, all right?
Yeah.
I didn't spoil Panama.
Does that lower the stakes to play as her? You're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm here.
No, I think because it's about them connecting to each other again, and there's so much bigger going on. It's like, yo, she can take care of herself. She's fine. It's not like, yo, I need to get to her because I need to save her. It's like, yo, I need to get to her because 1, I miss her. 2, because I have some important information to tell her. And yeah, that's
so
it.
the story's about this dad who misses his daughter and he can eventually go find her?
You're tracking her down and...
But it's not, there's no rush. He just misses her.
Well...
There is a rush. The Wild Hunt's
hunted,
coming. Yeah, she's being hunted by, like, this army.
Okay.
So, like, she can take care of herself, but still she needs
But
backup.
she could. So there's no real risk here.
I mean, it all culminates in, like, you're gathering allies, including her, to stop this giant threat that is coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do it? Is there a war at the end?
Dude, depending on who you recruit, you can, like, ally up and recruit people. You can even find Letho from The Witcher 2, who is hiding in some attic in the middle of nowhere. And depending on your choices you make with him, you can, like, make choices with him because he's a wild card. He was the villain in 2, so it's like... You can reconcile with him and he'll come to the Witcher Fortress and aid you in the battle if you play your cards right and do all that.
It buries the lead, though.
So many good quests. So many good monster hunts. Just tragic tales of like the
Hey, that was not a question.
What do you got for me?
Somebody's got to rebut him.
Brad always talks about how he just got through at pressing square. Combat-wise.
Sure, we all can't be as good as Brad at video games, so that's kind of a bummer. You can play. You've
made that joke too.
Multiple difficulties that you can bump up. Yeah, sure, there are things that are way stronger than others, like Quen, the shield. But when people criticize the combat, I think the combat looks great and it feels good to play, okay? It's not like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or even Bloodborne. It's its own thing. It is a realistic combat style grounded in this world that always looks great and it looks engaging. Like when I'm watching Geralt spin around and slice things in half and impale monsters and that sick death animation when he cuts the guy's head off, like everything looks rewarding and I think the combat gets kind of a bad rap.
It's not fun to prepare, like, tonics and potions, though.
Oh, I love that stuff.
It's fun in Monster Hunter, but...
What's a lubberkin?
The lubberkin and the botchlings. I always...
That's actually a really great question.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
What a lineup.
I gotta use
There
that.
we go. There are 9 games up for vote.
What a lineup again.
Yeah, what are they all?
I can't
Mega Man
even...
Legends.
Damiani, can you just put the thing on
Dark
the screen that
Souls,
we can see it?
Pong, Shadow of the Colossus, Resident Evil 4,
Wow.
Pandemonium, Dungeons and Dragons, Resident Evil Remake, and The Witcher 3.
Did you already make them, Kyle?
I can't even handle this lineup again.
Oh yeah, look at that. Thank you, Damiani.
Yeah, lineup!
Well done, Damiani.
What do you want from me?
Wrong Resident Evil logo, but yeah.
Wrong Resident Evil logo. Did the stickers?
It's HD. It's fine.
I mean, it's essentially the same game, but yeah. It wasn't the HD remaster that was being argued.
Because there's like no.
Sure, it was the GameCube version.
It just says Resident Evil, that's why. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, you didn't make me choose a version for Resident Evil 4. I just remember that.
You basically said Wii version in your argument, and so that's why.
I honestly, in some cases, don't like versioning, but
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm with you, blood. I'm with you,
the
blood.
Street Fighter 2 one, like that was part of my argument. It was like, it's partly great because it was on everything. So
How did those stickers like?
Oh man, what a list of games.
I just love
yeah, I don't know. Somebody was saying 2 votes. I thought we still had 3 votes. Did we change the votes?
Has anyone seen stickers?
You still have 3 votes?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yo, why are you guys making me vote for these amazing games? This is
it's
hurting.
ridiculous. Early on, I thought I had it figured out, and then it just got worse.
What
and
do you
worse.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring The Witcher for Blood. He's gonna suck.
Name tags or something? Oh, one is like a hi, my name is, and then the others are like.
It actually is kind of a relief that we don't have to vote for our own now.
Yeah, I don't have to
It's
vote
like,
for
okay, that's one knocked out.
Yeah.
I can pick from the rest.
Yeah, I'm locked. Obviously.
They're not any backpack or anything. You can stick them back in the bag or something.
Are they in your other bag, Kyle? They are not. But we're going.
Card.
I got a solution. It's working.
Oh, nice go.
Kind of.
Here I say, Don. No matter what, I'm gonna now play
The Pong's throwing you out.
Nice. I've never played it before.
In between Resident Evil and Dark Souls,
You've played
Pong.
Manoa before?
Yeah.
Manoa's
Never.
another
I respect it,
sexual
though.
platformer.
Oh god, this list! Ah!
Came out a year later.
We can show everybody our current inductees.
Oh yeah, so here are our current inductees.
Ooh.
Here's all this was made by Chris for us tonight. See a lot of shout-outs like to me.
You taking notes right now, Blood?
What?
You taking notes on this?
I'm figuring out what I want to
So legit.
He popped open the notebook and started. It's like one was like, I have to reconsider some things.
I gotta figure this out.
Oh.
Good list of games.
Good list of games.
Wait, how many did you put it up?
Yeah, I put it up for them. I don't have a mic, so like they keep playing, they can never hear me.
Oh yeah.
So I
Talk
can't-
louder.
Yeah. Yeah. Hollow Greats previous winners that we have up. Those who don't remember, Super Metroid got inducted in February 2017.
Good game. Bloodworth submitted that, I think, right?
Yeah.
We did.
That's a Skype one, right?
Yes. You Skyped it in. You phoned it in, and it still got in.
Skyped it in.
Is that the one also won the Patron Gold? Vote?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That one went to a tie.
Street Fighter 2 got inducted in May 2017. Was our second ever?
If you go to hallofgreats.com, it takes you to.
They're all on Hall of Greats.
If you play that sick Hall of Greats video game.
Can people get that somehow,
Yes,
by the way?
it's linked in the
It's linked
YouTube
in the
video.
video,
I
yeah.
will post a link in chat again. We did earlier. I'll link it again in chat. Go to their description. There are links for 64-bit and 32-bit versions.
So
That's
cool.
amazing.
Can we actually get 2 hands on this? We could do this way faster if 2 people are doing this.
All right.
Oh
So,
yeah, you
John,
guys can see this.
Do the same thing I was doing.
Next one,
Put them right on the back.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night,
On the opposite side.
August 2017.
But there were 2 each time. You're only reading them
Yeah,
one.
they're stacked. I was reading them horizontally. They're stacked vertically. That's how they are. So sorry. Super Metroid was February 2017, along with Metal Gear Solid. Those
There
are
we
the
go.
first 2,
Metal
sorry.
Gear.
And then the second one was Street Fighter 2, original Street Fighter 2, it seems to be, and Super Mario 64.
Yeah, well, Turbo ended up being the canon one, but yeah, Street Fighter 2 is meant to be all-encompassing.
That's good. As I said earlier, Castlevania Symphony of the Night was inducted in our third one, along with Ocarina of Time.
Those
And
logos look real good on there.
lastly, was Chrono Trigger. Easiest shoe in the world right there.
Oh, I know. I know.
Just
No,
put it-
Super Mario 64 too was like the easiest.
Oh,
I
And
think MGS was a
I
shoot.
think Chrono
Yeah.
Trigger was the biggest landslide, though.
Yeah.
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah.
Another one.
Nice.
That was a lot closer, that one. I thought that was going to be like automatic. It only
Automatic.
got like second. It didn't even win number 1, yeah. I mean, I was going up against Chrono Trigger, but, I mean...
I'm waiting
I
for.
thought Pokemon would have been like huge landslide for second place.
I forgot Dark Souls was on the list when I was.
I know.
Kyle is currently making the voting things
All right, I'm back
have
to
the
Candy
games
Crush
on them.
Roll.
That's what we're waiting
I'm waiting for Don to bring
Let me grab
Lethal
that URL real
Enforcers.
quick.
Oh,
Virtual.
Nice.
Virtual.
you know what?
Right.
I was just reading a thing. If I have a chance to check it out at GDC, there's somebody that's making
linked it.
new light gun tech
Nice.
that works on like all modern displays.
Yeah,
I think
Dude.
I saw someone doing that at the last.
Oh, yeah?
At
Keep me
PAX.
posted on that.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I'm sure people have tried it here and there, but
Yeah.
I got a press release about it today.
Do you have more tape?
Keep me
Do we need a third
posted.
hand on this? Okay. Alright.
What are we looking for?
More tape.
I did see that come up. So nominating
Another
Brad's
just
not here,
regular tape.
but RE4. People ask me like which version? Do the versions matter?
He basically argued in his argument that he was voting for the Wii version.
So Wii version?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Is that Brad's intent?
Yeah, that's my only question.
That's why I just don't think about the version.
Don't think about it.
It's just it's Resident
Evil 4's versions, other than the Wii version, aren't that different.
Yeah, the only thing the PS2 added a couple months down the road
you can
was
play the Wii version
Ada.
with a GameCube controller.
Yeah.
The costumes.
And the other one had Ada, and that's
Yeah. Separate
Yeah,
ways.
Wii version is kind of like the Ultimate
HD
Edition,
ones,
Yeah.
Like the ones that like the HD remaster on PC,
Here, do you wanna just, like, give me some
PS4.
pieces of
Yeah, there's a PS4 remaster,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, like do you care about
PS3?
the HD visuals? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I think the game's the
I was
game.
asking, they were curious. So
Yeah.
I like Bloodman. The game's the game. Like, if it slightly iterates over the years with like a fresh coat of paint, like it's still the same game.
Yeah.
Like Damiani clearly chose the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, which I think is different than the original. But if it's just a remaster or a port, like I think it's fine, right?
Yeah, I think it's unless it's like the crux of your argument or an essential part of
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
you're
You got Resident Evil remake.
I can't handle his
Shadow of the
list.
Colossus remake. Like I literally said, I skipped over that part. Like they were like the two best remakes ever.
Yeah.
Like that was like in my opinion. So it's like crap.
I know.
That. Then you do RE4 here. It's
It's still shocking to like see that old trailer and just how good the GameCube version looks
Oh,
on
gosh,
Resident
yes.
Evil, man.
I cannot believe two
Let's get-
Resident Evils are on
Can we
this
get a
list.
remake on Switch? Can we get a remake on Switch, please?
Oh, okay.
Dude,
So
they
essentially-
they released Revelations and whatnot. Like it could be coming.
69 remake.
It could easily be coming.
Make it happen.
I could see that.
Sorry, I should have been worried about this the whole stream.
Well, Dante's coming to Monster Hunter, so life's good.
man.
Cool little trailer.
That outfit. So glad it's not just a Palico outfit.
Did you say Dante was also coming with something else?
We want
Devil
him
May Cry
in-
5.
Yeah, well, Devil May Cry 5 and Soul Calibur 6.
Okay. So
He's gonna fight Geralt. It's gonna be a showdown.
Soul Calibur 6 is just Capcom characters and Geralt.
Dude. No, it probably wouldn't happen, but it's funny. Yeah, like now that Smash is announced and people saying is Smash the game for
Dude,
Geralt?
I know.
But
Geralt
like,
and
if they're gonna do that, are they gonna try to like squeeze Witcher 3 onto the Switch?
If Geralt
Is
is in Smash,
I
I'd
mean,
have a
Snake
meltdown.
like Snake was. Anything's possible.
He's got enough different abilities for it to work.
Yeah.
But Snake has appeared on Nintendo platforms.
totally forgot, Hubert.
Sure.
We made a bet, and I never gave you my stakes on friend.
Get on cam for this.
Yeah, you're
What
still way
happened?
off
Get on cam
mic.
for this.
What bet did I lose today?
This is a big deal.
He's wearing
Yeah.
a shirt.
Now what?
What was our bet though? It was on friend code.
Yeah, it was on friend
And
code.
I
What
said
did we
like
bet?
your stakes are I had to play weekly hunts. if I
Yeah,
lost.
what did
But
we bet?
What was the bet?
Help us out,
Chat, help us out.
Chat, you know.
Chat,
You
what was
always
it?
know.
If you forget the bet, it's over. It's
No,
gone.
no.
they've
It's
all-
locked.
They've got it.
The bet's
it's
locked.
I just didn't
Bet
make stakes
never-
though.
There's
I
no
don't remember
convenient
what the bet was.
amnesia in the betting world.
I feel like I might have to make up the stakes now before I know what the bet is because it might change my like view. on
No,
it.
no. It's cool. It's cool.
Let's check the camera.
Chat.
If
So
Geralt
Chad
was in
doesn't
Smash, you know what'd be a really funny detail? Is if he pulled out a different sword versus whether he's fighting a person or if he's
Or
fighting
like a Pokemon, dude. The silver sword.
Blood, that is so good. That is so good.
I look forward to seeing that. I remember. It was over N64 Classic.
Oh yeah, it's coming,
You said
dude.
it was definitely
Right.
coming. I
Yeah.
said no.
It's 64 Classic.
By end of this year.
It's
By
coming.
the end of this year, it has to come out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe both of you at the same time.
No, that was
It's coming.
Being pulled in
So
different
you
directions.
said it had to come out by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And if it does, I have to play Weekly Hunts.
Weekly hunts. Yeah.
If it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean I win because I said Switch has to have an N64 controller support officially, not mods or anything. An
Okay.
official N64 controller sold by Nintendo.
Gosh.
Geralt is in Smash alongside an announcement of Witcher 3 for Switch. That's what we got.
CD Projekt
Witcher
Red.
3
Man.
will never run on Switch.
You don't think?
Nah.
No.
Cool. Almost ready.
It's kind of sad because it's like 2 or 3 years old, you know. Maybe they could cram it in there.
I mean,
It would be such a
They get on camera. We crammed it in.
It would be such a sacrifice to get it on there.
But it just fit.
Yep.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right.
So we're going
I think
to...
just the vegetation variety is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to vote in
that
reverse
amount of
order.
RAM.
All right,
Oh,
you wanna
sorry, same
explain
order.
on camera?
Same order.
Oh, all right.
So what is about to happen, everybody? You're about to see each of us vote individually. We're going to sit in the confessional camera. We're going to state why we're choosing... Oh, I only grabbed 3. I need to grab 6. We're going to state why we're voting for what we're voting for. We have 1 3-point vote, 1 2-point vote, and 1 1-point vote, and we cannot vote on our own games.
This makes it a little easier for
We
me.
cannot vote on our own games.
A 3-point, a 2-point, and a 1-point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ian, I think technically you could vote on Resident Evil 4 if you wanted to. I think that's...
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's not his game.
obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. Really, I love hitting the B on
Turn
that.
off the what?
Really hitting that B.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Obvious.
Obvious.
Is it satisfying?
It's so obvious.
Wait, Damiani, aren't you gonna...
Well, I'm gonna be out of here, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I
We're
will
just
count to the
counting
end. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have chat blocked as well.
Okay.
I mean, I'll know him eventually, but I don't want
See
to
you in
know
a minute,
before
chat.
I
So is this on? Confessional game?
Let's check. Let's double check.
Check.
I
Can you
listen
hear
to
me?
you have our chat.
Do you have salad mic up all the way?
Alright, so Salad Mike is on
Check.
chat level.
Check salad mic.
So chat, I'm gonna look at you now. Tell me, chat, if you can hear Kyle. And
Can you
stuff.
hear me, chat?
We just want to double check. We check.
Turn off all the other mics, maybe?
Yeah, I'll turn off all the others.
But we'll remember to turn them on later.
Yeah.
Is the camera on confessional cam?
Yep. And they say.
Can you hear me, chat? Cool.
Turn up the mic. I'll turn up a little bit more.
Oh yeah, there is a big distance between my mouth and the
Alright,
mic.
I turned it up a little more.
Cool. Check, mic check. Chat, are you happy with this? We're about to do it. I'm about to vote.
It's your last chance. I mean, there's little people before you turn it up.
Okay.
Alright, I think it's good right there.
Cool.
I turned it up even louder after they were saying a little more louder.
Great. A little bit louder now. A little bit louder now. Let me get some candy. Still low, Damiani. Still low.
It's really high now.
Max it out, dude. I'm just super far from
Say,
it.
I'm Kyle Bosman, and today
I'm Kyle
voting
Bosman.
for an
Turn off all the other
imaginary-
mics
I
too.
did.
Okay,
We
cool. All right, yeah. So I guess we'll just go with this.
It's almost at max, chat. What else? There you go, chat. It's at max here.
Max volume, chat. It's the best you could do.
I mean, there you go, chat.
Okay.
All right, there we go. All right, I am covering up chat now. I can't look at anything anymore. I am leaving.
Cool.
Oh, time out. Let me kill this for you so you don't see this.
Oh, the
It
TV.
might be distracting for some
A
people.
little distracting. Chat, as you can see, I have 6 chips.
All right.
These 3 will be 1 vote. These 2 will be another vote, and this 1 will be 1 vote.
Chips are all out there for us, by the way.
They're back there, actually.
Oh, back there. I need chips.
Okay. The door is now closed. We are alone, chat. Because you voted on me not being allowed to vote on my own game, that kind of stinks. I absolutely would have voted for Mega Man Legends. My 3 vote goes to Resident Evil Remake. I think that is a nearly perfect game. Hard defaulted on anything. It's just like it's mastery, right? It belongs in the greats. Dark Souls is another easy pick. Blood always picks the easy picks, but that is a again masterfully designed game, you know. And then finally, with my 1 chip, I have to tell you something. I have an alliance with Don, and I must put my 1 chip in Pandemonium. Next up.
No. Just 7-6.
Hi, chat. Hi, chat. Hopefully there's nothing wrong because they're not looking at that. Cool. So yeah, we got a good crazy batch of games. Like I said, I'm very glad that my own pick I don't have to worry about. for my number, my number one, I guess. I'm putting 3 chips in on The Witcher 3. Let's get that guy in there. Let's get a game in there that is made after 2000. That would be awesome. Everyone, I mean, it's like a stereotype now of how much I love The Witcher 3 and how much it's done for storytelling in games and open world and all the great things. And I'd also defend its combat. I mean, yeah, it does good stuff on combat as well. It's just a little hard to get into that rhythm, but once you get there, it's good stuff. I will put 1 point in on Shadow of the Colossus. Because I don't know that this issue of remaster or original is ever going to get resolved. But I do think Shadow of the Colossus belongs in there. It's an extremely iconic game. Nothing else like it at all. Just incredible. Especially for its time. And like Damiani said, just crazy music. Like anytime I pick that game up, it feels almost like the first time. It's just so good. And then for my 2 points, I'm going to go with Pong. It definitely has a place. It has historical significance. And unlike many of these games, I think it's going to be hard to get in there and fight for it again. So let's get Pong in there. Yeah. Up next.
Somebody hold the door open. We'll close the door.
All right. Hi, everybody. How are you? All right. Let's get the inevitable out of the way. Man, there are some good games here. I will tell you, it makes me sad that I'm not going to be voting for Dungeons and Dragons. I wish that was the PS2 version of Shadow of the Colossus. It feels weird to vote for the remake. And as much as I would love to make Kyle's day by plopping a little vote there in Mega Man Legends, and I can't vote for Pong. I mean, I gotta vote for both Resident Evils, but Witcher 3 is one of the best games I've ever played ever. So there you go. There you go, Witcher 3. 3 for you. 3 for 3. And RE4 and RE Remake are real tough. I think I'm gonna give it to Remake over 4 because it gets to me emotionally. It's like I said, I love to play 4. There are moments that really chill me about the way 4 is constructed, but doesn't really spook me. There's not a lot of story beats. The only part of RE4 that is emotional for me is the end credits where you actually see what happened to that village. So RE4, you're a really good video game. You're gonna get 1 vote. That beautiful remake that will probably be the best remake of a game we'll ever get because no company is gonna bother spending that much money on remaking one of their games. There's my votes. Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. I'm going to break everything. How's it going? I've got my votes here. Before we do that real quick, I want to apologize if I seem too hostile towards Ian. That was a little unfair. Need to be a little bit more fun about that. So, yeah, sorry about that. And sorry if I didn't argue very well for the diversity in Shadow of the Colossus, or tried to cover it up and not argue about it right. So with that, I'm going to go in backwards order. I'm going to give 1 to Dark Souls. Dark Souls. I like the arguments. I know about the frame rate and stuff like that. Still a great game. It's between Dark Souls and Bloodborne for the best one. Sorry, Demon Souls. 2 chips are going towards... Where is it? Remake. Ben made a really good case. Jeez, go in. Ben made a really good argument for Remake. It was very compelling. Tank question. Everyone always brings up tank control stuff. That's just like the troll question always comes up. Handled it very well. RE4 is getting my 3 chips. Dopamine. That's like a level up sound right there. So good. Ian did a fantastic job in representing the game for Brad, and yeah, despite what it may have done to the future of the games in the series with 5 and 6, doesn't change what it did at the time. Still fantastic, still holds up very well. That is my number one. Thank you for listening to me. Next up.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Voting time. So, a lot of good choices here. However, I only have 6 points and 3 different votes I'm able to make. So, this is how I'm going to do it. First, with 3 points, I'm going to give it to the masterpiece that is Resident Evil 4. Here you go. All right, I'm going to drop my next 2 points in The Witcher 3. Unbelievable game. Combat did not bother me at all. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And last, my 1 point in compliance with and under the obligations set forth by the Hog Bosman Accord, my 1 point goes to Mega Man Legends. And that is right there. Thanks, everybody. It was fun.
Three to Dark Souls. 2 to Resident Evil 4. 1 to Remake. If Damiani hadn't done the remake, which I haven't played, I would have given some to this, because I love the impact that it had on my life. Shadow of the Colossus. Haven't played the remake, so, you know. Yeah. Also, just shout out to Don's video, because it was amazing.
We're sitting down now. Okay. I don't have a lot of time, and I want to vote for so many things, but I think the argument should matter, and I think Don by far had the best argument. Out of all the games, I know Pandemonium the least, and he made me the most interested. So that gets my 3. My 2 goes to Resident Evil 4, a wildly different sequel that changed everything. Even though I haven't finished it, there are few RPGs or even games that I think about as much as The Witcher 3. And the 60 hours that I spent in it, it's one of the most captivating worlds I've ever been a part of. So, Witcher 3.
No hesitation whatsoever. Absolutely no hesitation. Clearly, where are you? Resident Evil Remake, of course. 1, 2, 3 for that. 2 for Resident Evil 4. And 1 for Dark Souls. There you go. Alright, I'm done.
You guys can't be heard. Get your mics on.
Give me a sec.
One of the greats.
I'm gonna kill someone.
Alright, your old mics are back.
Hey, everybody.
I'm pumped. I'm so excited.
Oh, don't look at chat, Don.
Nope, I'm not.
Chat knows who won. You can't look
Okay.
at chat. Don't look at
I'm
chat.
so ready. Crack these
And my
open.
mic
They
is
do
up.
know.
Chat, let me.
Yeah,
I
chat
can't
knows
look at you,
exactly
chat,
who
sorry,
won.
but
Close it.
I hope I'm not too loud.
All the way 'cause
Yeah.
you go to sleep, right? Oh, shit.
Crack these suckers open.
So while Damiani's counting, we're going to talk about the concert that's on Sunday. To give you some expectations of what that kind of thing is like. Yep. Yep.
I want you to see which one I'm coming.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So, what is that to someone like I know Easy Allies. I watch you stream video games, but it seems weird to me that you do a concert. What is this event?
It's a celebration.
Oh.
Celebrating another year of Easy Allies with the greatest gaming community on this earth. It's a celebration for them, for us, to celebrate just what Easy Allies is, what it's all about. It's going to be a blast.
I like the idea of doing it on an anniversary because there's just that feeling of disbelief where it's like, wow, you're
2 years ago.
2 years.
We did it.
Yeah, 2 years.
And I think I think one of the things that is a benefit and hinders Easy Allies sometimes is us. We were this other entity. We did work for another company. We did work for another website. And so people that initially were investing in us, we wanted to produce things they were familiar with, get back to a lot of the stuff that we had done before previously that they liked. We've done a lot of new stuff at Easy Allies too, but a lot of that has been done like outside of the financial constructs of Patreon. Every now and then we'll try something new just to see how it goes. And so I like the concert kind of just being just a lot of new stuff. Just everybody being like, all right, I'm not going to just do another episode of my thing, or I'm not going to do something that people will be expecting. I'm going to do something weird. And I'm looking forward to every single thing that each of the allies is bringing to, whether that be something that they are prepackaging in a video that they are bringing to show off, or something that they're going to do live.
Some weird stuff.
Some crazy stuff is happening.
Can I say some weird stuff?
Don't spoil it.
I will say Box Peak's going to be there. That's
Stop
worth promoting.
saying that.
That's worth promoting. That's a big deal for me.
It's a big deal.
This Sunday, you will be able to watch the first episode of Box Peak.
But it's like I don't want Kyle to keep saying
said it though.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
You
I'm
can't
just teasing
re-ruin
it, Blood.
it.
I'm just teasing it.
But like I completely step out of any kind of role that I have here at Easy Allies and just go straight into complete fandom of Box Peak. Like I'm literally just
Box Peak is very good.
like I've read all the scripts several
very
times,
good.
but like I'm still like what? Wow, how is okay?
Can't wait for those Brandon Jones Box Peak fan subs.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Subbing them into Japanese.
Yeah.
I do want to make it clear. Actually, we're going to premiere it on Sunday, but not actually premiere the series until much later. Probably the end of spring.
Just a sneak peek.
It's a sneak peek.
Just an appetizer.
Sneak box
version.
peek.
Something that I think is worth reminding people, even
Pilot.
if you can't come to the show this year, you can still
It's on
watch it.
Twitch. This Sunday, 8 p.m. right here on twitch.tv/EasyAllies. Ben, that's
What
I'm most
service
excited
was
about.
that again?
Twitch.tv/EasyAllies.
I thought you said
Twitch.
More eyes in that word.
I think there were two E's and then some I's.
Yes. TWE.
I a competing service called
I'm nervous about the
clunking.
unpredictability.
Multiple
The heaviness of
cameras,
each
live
vote. Just the,
Unpredictability of this, of the counting.
No, of
No, of the live event.
that's the
Hubert,
special sauce, baby.
Let me tell you this, like, I'm in the damn thing and I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how it's gonna go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Things are like, they've been rehearsed. Like,
If there's ever been a time
weirdly.
to say fast and loose.
It's a good thing that, you know, the one thing we've really nailed down is we just never have to identify these.
Oh yeah. No, they're totally.
And it's like a whole other group of people are dealing with the stream cameras.
Right.
Stream.
That is actually really nice.
We're
yeah.
technically going to be working with a bunch of people we've never met or worked with before. It's going to be fine.
And don't like us.
Yeah, they
Have repeatedly
accidentally
said they do
know
not
who we
respect
are.
us or what we do.
Is
They
it
don't
Tommy?
like it.
Is it Tommy's?
Tommy doesn't like us?
Tommy doesn't like us.
Let's see. Wait. Let's see. Let's check the room. Let's check
Okay.
we'll university knowledge. Who's Tommy? Anybody know?
I don't know.
Is this a thing?
Oh, no, I've heard this.
Tommy is a character. He's a very specific person.
From
I just think of Rugrats.
Like
From
alumni?
USC.
Alumni?
Tommy is the not an alumni.
Just tell
Tommy
us.
Trojan?
Is it
Tommy
that?
Trojan. It's their mascot.
Oh, Tommy Trojan.
And there is if you are familiar with USC, we will be putting up specific directions on how to get there. But if you're familiar with USC, there is the Tommy Trojan statue, which people who do not go to USC love to sneak on campus and deface whenever they get an opportunity. Is located just a little bit north. If you just go to if you're at the Tommy statue, go a little bit south. There's Tommy's
I
place.
swear to you, this is a true story. I swear to you, my dad went to UCLA, has a bunch of friends that went to UCLA, and they used to go to all these football games and everything. My dad's
That must be Mega Man Legends.
friend of a friend. So like my dad's acquaintance stole the dude's sword.
That's amazing.
The Tommy
Stole Tommy's sword?
Yeah, like the mascot that comes out, he's got the armor, the sword, stole his sword and
Nice.
mounted it in his house.
Still has it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
We wanna stress
Talk
though,
about like no,
when you're on campus for our show, please don't vandalize USC.
Don't touch Tommy's sword.
Don't vandalize.
I love it. I love it because of the spirit of like the raffle.
But don't.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I want to talk about the
UCLA
raffle
is
this
a
year.
huge raffle.
Well, then what Huber's describing is like the mascots thing. Like
Yeah.
the guy who is in a suit came out.
Yeah.
There's no way he like broke the statue.
No,
Like,
no.
They probably like planned it.
copper.
So, John,
Straight out of a movie.
I want to talk about the raffle this year.
All right.
Because we got a new process.
Oh
The
yeah.
giveaway.
Yeah, the
giveaway, excuse me. I used both. Basically, what happened last year is we would like hand somebody like one of our little dioramas, and they would be like, "I won this." Like, no, thank you. And so this year we're making sure where you put your ticket into a bucket of a thing you want to win.
Nice.
Yeah. So that won't happen. Because it's very disheartening to like hand somebody some like weird garbage and for them to be like unappreciative.
Throw this away.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really stoked about that.
Throw this away for us.
We'll have some cool memorabilia. Jones's painting is going to be raffled away.
That's all you need to know. I like to hope that someone who really did want one of those dioramas, like put it in their trunk of their car, and then was like opening the trunk with a friend there to get something else, and just open it up, and he was like, "Whoa, what's the?"
And then he just
weird...
closes it. No,
This strange subway scene with the little girl looking at a monitor. What am I looking? And he's like, "Oh, it's a long story."
It's funny.
Dino Crisis.
Yeah, that's
I believe that conversation.
Right there. All you need to know.
I actually had
Next
mine
level.
for a few weeks after we made those dioramas. I had mine sitting in my trunk, but it was inside of a box that a fan had sent me, and it had a cutout of my face with the hat on and the glasses taped on top of the box. It was just in my trunk, and there were several times when I opened my trunk when I was with someone, and they're like, "Hey, what's in that box?" I was like, "Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it."
There's your own face on it. Yeah, that's very funny.
Your own face.
Damiani, you ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Is Solid Mic on?
Solid Mic is on because chat was complaining about. I had chat blocked when I was counting, so the clinking noise was annoying them apparently. So we apologize for that oversight. But I double checked.
They're in the room.
Double checked.
Yeah.
8 of us voted with 6 votes to give each. So that's 48. The votes tallied up on here also add up to 48. So all votes are accounted for.
Okay.
So
Well done, Damiani.
they're all good here.
I'm
So
not rooting
we're going to
for
be
my
going
own
in reverse order for the everything up to the final 3. The final 3 will be revealed in a different way.
Pong or Pandemonium, Don. What's it gonna be?
So yeah, the first 6. So this is the coming in last place. Only one with no votes. Dungeons and Dragons.
All right.
Freezer for a year.
So I'm gonna kill that off of here. Dungeons and Dragons is out.
New episodes of Tables of Escapades.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, I think. Please
I'll go cut that
All
tonight.
right. Tied for 7th place, both with 1 vote each, avoiding the 1-year ban.
Dodged it.
Mega Man Legends and Shadow of the Colossus.
Wait, what?
Shadow! Did you vote for Shadow? Did you vote for it? Then what are you talking
Greatest
about?
nomination ever. This is my most successful nomination ever. 2 votes, baby.
All right. In 6th place with 2 votes, Pong.
What if it sneaks in?
Oh my god.
What if it sneaks in?
This is the best reaction ever.
Wow.
In 5th place with 4 votes, Pandemonium.
Very nice.
Halfway up the ladder.
Yeah.
All right. And in 4th place with 7 votes. This one shocked me. Cannot believe this happened. 4th place, Dark Souls with 7 votes.
No.
You Philistines.
Oh.
Oof.
That is.
That already
Cannot believe that. It happened. But
You only get 3 votes.
that happened. Yeah. All right. So it's between Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 4, and Witcher 3.
Oh, Jesus.
So coming in with the most votes.
Wait, why are you doing it that way?
Yeah, so because if I reveal 3rd, then everyone knows who won
Both of them.
the top 2.
He made his case. It makes sense.
People only care about
got
who
it,
won the
got
2.
it.
Yeah. We went through this right. So there's only 2 votes between 1st and 2nd place, but 1st place with 13 votes, Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good job, Brad.
Brad.
Good job, Ian.
Good job, Ian, for repping that.
Very nice.
I mean, any one of us could have done it. That game speaks for itself.
And the last one in
I'm kind of rooting against myself.
with 11 votes,
Come on, remake.
eking out the other one by 2 votes as well, winning 11-9.
Let's go,
In
Remake.
2nd place, Remake.
2 Resident Evil games.
Evil doesn't win.
2 Resident Evil games.
Yeah!
And third place, of course.
Feels good.
Third place was The Witcher 3
Right,
Wild
damn
Hunt.
it.
Feels good.
And you know what? I picked a remake over 4.
Me too. Yeah.
So it's 4-1.
Who are these 4 people? Where are they coming from?
Well, I brought remakes.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah, we're bringing chat back up now.
You know
Ian
what's-
repping the top and the
what's
left.
nuts? I saved 2 games. Shadow and Pong. I was the only one that voted for.
Yeah!
Pong got
That
2,
3
right?
went to
Pong got 2 votes,
Guardian
right?
Angel.
Yeah. Did Pong have 2?
Pong got 2 votes.
Who else voted for Pong?
No, that was me.
You voted 2. Oh, you voted
I put 2 on Pong and 1 on Shadow.
What
blood.
the hell?
Evil literally wins again.
So Resident Evil 4 and Remake are your 2 new
I mean,
inductees.
You know, it's we get a lot of
Feels good.
yeah. We get a lot of notes on Hall of Greats. There's obviously lots of things we can do about the process to change things, but like I feel good about this list. Like
I feel great.
every time a couple games in there, it's like that was
all in there if you want to check.
yeah. That's those are 2 extremely good video games right there. But there we go. What RE2? What else from the series can make it in? What else?
I really hope that the
RE2.
next Hall of Grace we get like Resident Evil 2 and like Nemesis. Yeah, what? It doesn't matter.
It's interesting how they both
2
get up
and
there.
7.
None of us would like put 2 of the like if we got to choose every week and we all had an agreement and like we all made discussions without voting. There's no way 2 Resident Evil games would get in.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was so hard. RE4 and like Remake are like to me like 2 of the best games ever made.
And just to be clear, chat, we all agreed that alliances were legal from day 1.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Alliances are legal.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
You can make alliances.
Backdoor shady deals can happen.
Are you telling me that you did something, Kyle?
Kyle just
Yeah.
There's a doubt right now.
Collusion.
Control everyone.
What in the world?
We all agreed on this. We said we
Oh
could
my
make
God.
alliances.
I'm so glad.
very
I
legitimately-
curious.
But I mean,
I'm so glad I didn't bring my
There was
other
no
thing.
collusion.
I do strangely remember that.
Madhouse.
But at the same time, you still have no idea what game is going in, you know. So if like
Yeah.
Kyle brings, an alliance, and then it's just like,
With the whole,
these
everything just
little
got
Wait, did you guys
shady.
Collude with each
so
other?
shady?
Yeah. What? We're gonna
It's a bit. You're in a bit.
Who colluded?
No, they colluded to keep each other's games in. This is how Hall of Greats works.
Oh, they keep them in. That's
Hall
the
of
win.
Shams.
to keep them
I was assured by Kyle that
Oh,
there was
but-
nothing unethical
Cool.
about it.
Hey, all's fair. Kyle wants to keep bringing Mega Man Legends every time and lose. That's fine.
It's gonna.
Resident Evil 1 and 4 in here, like, who cares anymore?
Yeah.
I'm good forever. Yeah.
Justice always prevails.
Yeah, I'm good
Justice
forever now.
prevails.
Someone
on,
quickly mention a game.
What?
StarCraft
God
2.
of War.
Yeah, man.
God of War's gotta go in.
Yeah.
There you go.
You gotta put it in.
One game. I love it. I love it.
Back.
We're continuing our Japan only trend.
Yeah.
No,
apparently,
no,
I gotta take Vice
it up,
City next
Wes.
time.
I just realized, yeah.
Step it
You're
up. Bringing a
What was
GTA.
not
What is it?
nominated at all?
Dude, 5 is
No
Just go
first-party
5?
Nintendo
Go big or go home?
games.
No
Alright.
Nintendo games.
No Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
counting that as a win.
Chat.
Maybe questionable.
Yeah.
We also broke into
No
this century.
Nintendo.
Western filth, man.
We're in
Western
this
filth.
century now.
We did, yeah. We are, in the 21st century now.
Our newest
Thank you so
game,
much for
yeah.
watching, everybody. Thank you. Round of applause just still. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for bringing wonderful submissions, for dealing with uncomfortable rebuttals, for shaking up the rules. You never know what's going to happen.
rules
It's
were
a surprise. The collusion rule clearly needs to be revisited.
Collusion needs to be revisited.
I'd hardly call it.
Um,
Also, we're fine, chat. Nobody's like mad at each other.
We need a trial.
Basically, what happened outside is there was a big hug, and then it was the next person's turn to vote. Like the next person would join the hug.
right.
Yeah.
In fact,
I mean,
whenever
it
we're
bet-
not on camera, we're
We're
hugging.
hugging.
Right.
Mostly because it's cold and raining outside.
Right.
But also,
also love.
Also love.
And also love.
Ben and Hugh were talking about Fortnite a little bit, but mostly hugging.
Yeah.
There's like yelling. About
Yeah, we're
Fortnite.
talking about Fortnite.
Speaking of popular games we might be streaming this week, so we got our anniversary coming up on Sunday, but what do we have leading up to that?
I need to make an announcement. Because of the anniversary and things that I need to get done this week, I was planning on doing Suikoden this week. I'm not going to be doing Suikoden tomorrow. It will come back. Hopefully it'll come back next week. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Have to start on a sour note.
I've got one more Evil Within stream in me, so that's going to happen on Thursday. Finish it off with the Executioner.
That's gonna be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's one where you're like first person. You're safe head.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, you're doing all the DLC and stuff too?
That is.
Oh, yeah.
That is good
I'm already
DLC.
through the other two
Yeah.
DLC.
I never played that actually.
It's good. They had a
Okay.
first person
They
the whole
kinda wrote it
game
off.
too, right?
So no bed tomorrow. What else we streaming? I am not.
SSX
I did my
3
cup of
this
Jones this morning.
Friday,
There we
9
go.
to midnight,
You're
baby.
kicking off SSX 3?
Oh, I'm like
No, he's
3
deep
weeks
into
in.
it.
baby.
Oh, nice. I thought you were still doing tricky. Okay.
Your streams of SSX have made me more interested in XSX.
It's very good. It's all very, very good.
Nice.
Probably Fortnite at some
I
point.
was telling you, I was playing a little bit of Tricky on the original Xbox, and that game's good.
Probably some Vermintide at some point. Again, just like Ben, just this week is kind of
This week
crazy.
is chaos.
Yeah, this week's kind of chaotic.
Yep.
So.
Well, then,
Got
yeah,
some
for me,
exciting
I'm not streaming next week because I'm gonna be gone. So
Next week, baby. Yeah.
But what Blood will be missing next week? We are having our of course wonderful concert stream Sunday night 8 p.m. But I believe starting at 4 p.m. Right?
Something
We're doing
like
2 hours
that.
earlier. We're not going 2 hours
next
later.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yes, yeah.
The day before our actual anniversary, March
Yeah, man.
20th. We will be starting our regularly scheduled group stream 2 hours early and be doing 4 hours to celebrate our lovely anniversary.
but I'm not missing that.
You said you're gonna be on next week.
Yeah, I'll be here for that. I'm
you'll be
leaving
here for-
Wednesday morning.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Blood will be here.
Blood will be here.
Vermintide is great. That is correct.
Yeah, it is.
This is so cool that like Vermintide 2 is like a big hit.
Yeah.
It is.
Where I
Yeah.
like had no awareness of Vermintide 1.
Yeah,
You like-
I'm
it
gonna be
didn't
on
really,
Kind of
like-
Funny next Friday.
Yeah, that's
Yes. Next Friday, correct. GDC week.
Nice.
And just at GDC in general. But you're gonna popping in and out. You're not.
I'm gonna be at this show most of
If
the.
I want to hunt Bloodworth down, where
Yeah.
I mean, you're easy to spot in a crowd. But is
Yeah,
there
I mean,
anything
I'll just
else?
be wandering the halls between panels and appointments, so but I've got time to walk around.
Nice.
That's what I look forward to the most at GDC.
Yeah.
Just running into people.
So run into Bloodworth. Do it. Run into.
Who's
Bloodworth.
playing Resident Evil tonight? That's what I want.
I am hungry, man. I think I've played every version of RE4 they've ever released. Like I think like Steam. I might not have played it on PC. I think that might be the one version. But yeah, PS4 for sure.
RE5 playthrough, dude. It's the best way to play it.
RE5, that's a good one,
Anytime.
Damiani.
Co-op?
Best
Anytime.
way to
Yeah.
play that game.
Anytime. Say the word, I'm there, Damiani.
Such a good game when you play co-op.
You can play that online, right? Can you play that online?
Online, yeah.
Online,
Online and local.
So much better when it's local. So
What screen? 1 in the
coordinating,
morning.
like, melee stuff.
Huber, I mean,
I would
right now.
answer the call at 1 a.m. if you wanted to play Resident Evil. No matter what.
That's a stream.
Resident Evil, anytime.
The 1 a.m. starting at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I will call you up. We'll start the stream then.
Let's go.
Brett Stradamus, new sub.
Yeah, Impact 93. Dark Souls demands justice. There's one truth about Hologrates, and that 2 truths. One, I love all the games that are in Hologrates. I'm proud of all of them. I think they're all great games. They are the greatest games that have been made in video game history. This is going to be a bloody battle every single time. It's going to be a messy process, but I love these guys, and I love putting all this stuff together. So it might seem a little edgy tonight, but that's why we separate it. I don't know if we can survive this once a month. We gotta space this out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
emotionally, we
Tear
can just
us
gather
apart.
ourselves
Yeah.
and then get ready. That was one of the suggestions I get on like Cup of Jones. We're just like, you do it more regularly, and it's just too
No
it's
way.
just too much.
Wouldn't feel special.
Wouldn't
It's
feel
it's like the
special,
Olympics.
yeah.
You know, you gotta wait for it, but then it comes up, and you know it's time to get busy. So I'm already thinking about what next game I can bring. World of Warcraft is up next in 3 months, right?
Oh, that's
Yes.
not Japanese though.
Yeah, World
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
sorry.
Yeah,
World of
yeah.
Warcraft will be out of jail next time. It'll have its 1 year
Get out
off.
of jail free card.
been a
right?
year already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in 3 months.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since we started this crazy business. Yeah, we got a podcast to shoot, and some of these boys got to go home, so we're going to wrap it up. But it has been a lengthy, dramatic, emotional stream. We thank all of you. Culmination of everything.
Wait, Jones.
Yes.
Resident Evil 1 and 4.
What about those things?
What about? Oh my goodness, what am I doing?
So hyped right now?
Extended stream.
Extend it! Keep it going! Keep it going!
You love Resident Evil!
Give
Play on the side!
Let's start right now.
Let's go!
Thank you. I almost wrapped it up. First of all, this box says for Ian on it. I don't know if you're
For Ian.
Wow.
Forian. I hail from the land of Forian.
Oh my god.
Just
I am a dwarf.
Just seeing who this is from, I'm pretty stoked.
No, it's not.
From
It's
software?
I put it in that. list.
Oh, Brandon, you played with my heart. It's in a Bandai Namco box. I was like, what is this? It just says for it. Yeah. It's like on the TV show The Alienist won't stop
Yeah,
tweeting at
there's
me.
the box that Nino Kuni
It's
came in,
like
isn't
you
it?
get to break the news. You specifically. specifically.
It's a bunch of Skittles. Joe's is trying to assassinate.
Oh, and the person was funny. It was single bags, so you can pace yourself.
Oh, good
That was
thinking.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Let us know if it works.
Yeah,
No, I won't.
That's close.
Dude,
I'm already on the
almost
edge.
cut himself.
Almost just ripped
Legitimately.
my hand right open.
Wow.
Who's this from? Who's this box
Can I-
with
can I
diabetes?
I got names. It was 2 people.
Sorry, man. Read the box.
I want to say Carolina's out. I'm looking at it.
Did you vote for Dungeons and Dragons?
No, I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is why alliances are made. This is why we do
This
this.
is like elementary school.
No,
stuff.
you know
So,
what?
like,
You can have that.
Ben can't be Bob.
oh.
My goodness.
Or at least the price is pretty high.
Yeah, price is high.
Price is a lot. Price is a
Oh,
lot.
that's a coupon. They send that in everything they send.
Oh, so this isn't fan mail. This is like.
Well, no, I think it is.
There's no note.
But it's they don't
Play
look like they have a
Asia.
note unless
Yeah.
it's in that.
Man.
No, I think it
I
was
see
just a sticker.
Japanese writing.
Alright, let's play Asia. Play Asia, you buy stuff.
It looks like we got some.
I think some stuff was purchased and just sent to us, but I do not have a
Yeah,
a
let me
name on
see
there.
if I can decipher what these all are. Oh, yeah, this is Etrian Odyssey 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Etrian Odyssey 4 soundtrack, Devil Survivor 2 soundtrack, and Shin Megami Tensei 4 soundtrack.
Whoa, hello,
That
Ben.
SMT soundtrack specifically, man.
I don't even have a name on the receipt. Yeah,
I mean, that's for Ben.
Holy
right.
shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, these are all
That one worked out.
pretty excellent soundtracks.
So yeah, reach out to Ben Moore
I love the soundtrack of that.
to get the credit you deserve.
Look at this, Ian. Look at the cover for the soundtrack. Isn't that
Wow.
glorious?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
We should put that on cam.
Yeah.
we should
Put it
show
on
cam.
This is Merry Christmas, man.
And again,
15 years, play Asia.
another
Nice.
Yeah.
no note. I do have a name, but there's no note. But this looks like a tournament prize.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it does.
Right there, baby. The Rathalos pop.
Oh!
This is
That
actually
is
very cool.
sick.
Yeah.
That
That is
actually
very
looks
cool.
good.
Yeah,
That is
it's
the
because
best-
it doesn't have a Funko Pop.
Right. It doesn't. It's just an
Yeah.
actual like. It's
That's the
actually
best
They had
looking
to
Funko Pop I've
design a
ever
new
seen.
head.
Yeah,
That
that's
actually looks
sick.
rad.
Okay, we'll do that for a tournament prize
Wow.
for sure.
Oh my god. Rathalos.
Yeah, that's a #1 tournament prize.
Number one.
And I'm about to win.
First place.
I'll see you there in Mario Party.
Oh, and it just says A. It is just signed A.
Cool.
So I do not know.
Hey!
Hey! This is adorable. This is for Ben. Heard his copy has fallen apart, so here's a new one.
Oh.
Yeah,
It
but
is
Ben
falling
didn't,
apart.
ben didn't vote for it, so.
Yeah, so sorry. Sorry, A. Mine's falling apart.
Hey,
I thought
hey!
you'd throw one at Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a little
I
surprised.
didn't like a non-video game.
Wow.
That was my. That's just my own
It's a
personal.
personal protest.
Just personal preference.
Ian is now the official everything D&D now.
Yeah,
He wins.
He's the proven most loved.
Get a deluge of
I did want to share something really funny though about like how this all went down. So Brad originally had Shadow of the Colossus. But then, like 2 days ago, he suddenly messages me, and he's like, "Hey, actually, can I get RE4?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I told Damiani who originally wanted Shadow Colossus, that he could have it.
Whoa.
Ben, when you asked me, you were like, "Hey, does anyone have any Resident Evil games?" I
Yeah.
said no.
I thought you were trolling me because I asked Kyle point blank, "Hey, is anybody bringing Resident Evil?" He's like,
Yeah.
"No, man, take any of them."
Yeah.
I'm like, fucking Kyle.
No. So at that point, it was the case,
He
but
probably
then
ran the same dilemma as I did, Brad.
what?
Which version to pick and stuff. Like, it's a hot topic right now.
The hot topic?
People are arguing
You
over-
picked the right version. It's got to be
I
2018.
think I did.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's too soon, I think.
Yep.
Like, if
It's
it
never
never
too
came out-
soon.
If
tough.
it hadn't come out, it could have been like, PS2 version came out 10 years ago, so good. It's okay, I didn't bring Super Mario Galaxy.
Skittles
That
are
would've
really
thrown
good.
everything
They
down.
would have taken my 3. Galaxy would have taken my 3.
Face, though. I got hot face now from the
I want
sugar.
someone to bring Galaxy 1
I've had too
and
much
2
sugar,
in
yeah,
the
for sure.
same
That
devolution.
would be horrible.
You could have
I got lots more sugar.
I
would actually
care.
I
don't want to be there.
Galaxy
It would, yeah, we could
People
rip us to
rub us
shreds.
up.
Hey, wait.
The salty
We should
blood
collude on
bath.
our game choices.
Breath of the Wild.
I wonder if that's
and
allowed.
Odyssey
Why
to the
not?
Hall
Yeah.
of Greats. We're gonna do it again.
I think anything's allowed until the day, and then people tell you it's not.
All right. This is from he signs it
That's a
Bjornar,
good
and I know
opinion.
from Just from the name, Bjornar Haraldsvik, I believe. Unless this is another Bjornar from our community. Here's some anniversary treats. You guys rock. Sincerely, Bjornar. Signed on a Marvel Age of Heroes exhibition post-it note.
Yeah.
Points for that. We have Oreo eggs. We have like Cadbury cream eggs, but with an Oreo filling.
I'm gonna try one. I want to try one of those.
They're chocolate though. They're like
is
chocolate
this?
inside, not the regular.
Gotcha.
These are like fancy Oreos.
You've heard of Yule Scum. Now there's Paskin Scum.
Ben's taking a tournament prize.
Paskin Scum?
Okay, I feel like
That's not the only thing he's taking from us
Paskin
tonight.
Scum.
They were supposed to be
Throwing gas on the non-situation.
Yeah.
So there was a missing note
Yeah, I
from
don't
the
even know what's
Funko
going
Pop,
on here.
everybody. It just
Oh,
it was
dude,
totally
it's a
meant for Ben.
coaster! It's a coaster of the box art of Resident Evil 2.
That's really cool.
It showed up, Hubert.
That's a nice
It's all
coaster.
It's the greatest night of all time.
Should we just
Shadow
leave,
dropped the
should,
trailer tonight.
should we just leave this here? And this is just your coaster that you use for all the shows?
Technically, that's a Resident Evil 2 remake. You know?
It'd be so great if that game like there was
They
like
made it
a
into a
disc in there or
coaster.
something.
The remake.
God.
That is
Not
out of
very
control.
good visuals, though.
No, yeah, the graphics.
Huber's had a good night.
Wow.
Seriously, Hubert, tonight, Shadow Drop, RE2 Remake Shadow trailer.
Seriously, it's all building.
It's coming tonight.
It's all building. They're watching.
Yeah.
They're like, yo,
Strike while the
tonight's
iron is
announced
hot,
tonight.
baby.
Oh, it's just ended the Hall of Greats. Let's announce it tonight.
Yeah, press release. On the heels of already claiming the top 2 spots in Easy Allies. We celebrated all of
You
Great.
should tweet it, Capcom. Tell them.
Yeah.
We got Yop, Smallbiter.
Dude, these Oreos
Jop.
are really good.
They look super
I've had
good.
too much.
We got
They're
some
like
Bylar,
not-
Aldrin's Bylar.
Oh, Bylar's
I think I've
good.
had Bylar before. Bylar's
Bylar's
good.
good.
Bylar's good.
Someone else eats some of these.
Algren,
They're too
Bylar,
good.
and I got a
Really
nervous
good
feeling
Oreo?
it's cheese
Oh,
and just
yeah.
a tub of Yule Scum.
A tub of Yule Scum, man.
Just crack. Oh no, it is a total tub. Look at him. Look at Santa. He's so proud of
It's
it.
an official Yule
Santa's like, here's your present, and maybe Yule
We
Scum.
feast.
I feel like that's a spite gift when I said stop sending Yule Scum.
You told them to stop.
But yeah.
You weren't here for that. I was
That's
like,
a
Don
horrible
likes
thing
it.
to tell
No,
him.
Don likes Yule Scum.
I
yeah.
love Yule Scum. Thank
Doesn't
you for sending
expire
it.
until May of 2019.
Oh, it'll be gone
Nice.
long before then. Don't worry.
But we got the tub, Kyle. It has to be used for
Oh, yeah.
anything we need a tub for.
I got some tub needs.
The Yule Scum tub.
The G-Man in chat has been trying to get our attention. He says the Funko Pop was for Ben. Thanks for carrying the torch for Monster Hunter.
Oh,
Corrected that.
Yeah.
Real convenient, Ben.
I would
Real
If
convenient.
the people would like me to put it up for tournament prize, I'm happy to do that. I just want
That's what
to say
it's
thank you for
Beelar.
G-Man for sending it. I think we should
Beelar.
thank him for his intention.
thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
Oh,
man.
is that not clear? That's what
It's
I was
all
trying
you.
to say
It's
earlier.
all you, baby. They gave it to you, man. It's yours.
Yeah. No one. Oh, I thought I
It's
said
pretty
that
sick.
earlier.
It's rad.
It's pretty sick.
We're all
I'm
jealous.
gonna try the
But we
I
honor
like
the
pointed that out
system.
earlier.
We honor the system, Ben. Where's the Oreos?
Is that the last one?
Yeah, I don't think anyone this evening has had a better night than Michael Huber. So wrap it up.
Yeah,
Wrap it up, buddy.
This
us
was this was the Hall of Greats. Number what? 4 or 5 was this now?
Five.
Number 5. You can play a game that has all the previous Hall of Great games inducted. You can find that in the description
Of the video that Trevor Betts uploaded. It might be hard to Google. Help us out,
You can
Trevor.
also go to patreon.com/easy-allies, go to the February Community Showcase submissions post, which is now public. He submitted it for the showcase, and it's been dropped in chat a couple times.
And,
so there you
and
go.
Okay, cool.
maybe whoever runs
chat.
the post on the forum, maybe put a link in there, because then hallofgreats.com will go straight to that, and it'll have the link for the game.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So if you're watching, person who manages that,
We can edit that in.
please do that. Or we can add it? Okay, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, we can edit it.
So yeah, that was Hall of Greats. The next one will be in 3 months' time. This Sunday will be our 2-year anniversary. It's kind of a three-day thing. It's Sunday at Tommy's place at USC is the concert. The next day is the meetup, and then the next day after that is the big long 4-hour stream.
Did we talk about details on the meetup?
I have to post those on Patreon. Look out for those ASAP.
Sweet. Not as many streams coming up this week because it's pretty chaotic.
And that Sunday stream is going to be huge.
And that Sunday stream is going to be huge.
Yeah, it's a stream.
But stay tuned for some random impromptu bonus streams, like a possible Vermintide or Fortnite.
Vermintide can happen at any moment.
Yeah, it could happen at any moment. There's no promises,
We
but
might
again,
be playing it right now. It's hard
yeah.
to say.
So, all right, that's it. Love and respect. Love you all. Thanks for watching the Hologrades. You make it great. See you next time.